All right, everybody, we are live. Thanks for coming in today, and we should have a good one for you today. Really looking forward to it. We have some people coming in to visit us, to stop in and talk. And as you may recognize this fella right here, this is Paul from fr8connect.com, freightconnect.com. And Paul has a service. He helps small trucking companies, medium-sized trucking companies, anybody in the industry kind of make connections with direct customers. Even if you got one truck, even if you're just getting into it, just getting started. So that's a big deal. There's nobody else really doing that, and we're thankful to have you. You've inspired a lot of people here today, Paul. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate it all the time, always. So thank you.
So we like to talk about those things, obviously, and some people have requested, hey, how about if we could talk to some people that have gone through your course, maybe done this, and hear their personal experiences, because they can hear it from me all day long, and maybe it loses its effect, or I'm repetitive. So what you've done is reach out to a couple folks here, and put out some invites and ask them to stop in today and talk to us. So we have one gentleman that hopped in right away. So out of respect for his time, we're gonna bring him in right away. He's gonna be audio only, but we're gonna hear about his experience with Paul and his business. So we certainly appreciate him coming in. So I'm gonna add Jeffrey to the stream here.
Hey guys, how you doing?
All right, good.
Hey,
we can hear you good. Thanks for coming in. So Jeffrey, we just first met about 3 minutes ago, so I appreciate it. And we know you have an important function that you're at, so thank you for taking the time out.
No problem.
I never really got a chance to talk to you about what all you're comfortable with. So would you tell us a little bit about your business, just the basics, so everybody kind of understands where you're starting from? Maybe they can relate it to where they're starting from, and it might be helpful.
So just to give you a little bit of background about me, I just recently got a CDO license, maybe three and a half years ago.
Okay.
Start off with a major carrier, did my experience time and decided, hey, let's see how far I can make it on my own. So I went down that process, got my own equipment, started my own authority, and kind of hit the ground running as best as I can. I'm a strong believer in no one can push you as hard as you can push yourself. So I don't want no one limiting my success besides me.
Wow, that's determination. So what kind of, just the basics, what kind of operation are you running? Van, reefer, flatbed, power only?
So at this time, we're a small fleet. Our due to inventory issues, our equipment size is usually fluctuating anywhere from, around 5 trucks or so. We're pretty split down the middle between reefers and dry vans, but most of the time our reefers are running dry loads.
Okay.
We're based out of South Florida, and most of the time we just run east and west through the bottom half of the U.S.
Okay. That's a tough area.
Yeah.
That's a tough area, especially just getting started. I mean, you don't have contacts. You don't have...
Exactly.
Okay. So that was a challenge for you getting started then, I imagine.
Oh, yeah, because I'm sure all you truckers out there probably tuning in knows about how bad Florida is.
Yeah.
You really don't make much money coming out of it, so I'm already starting off at a massive disadvantage.
Okay. So what got you... So about 3 years you've been in business.
Mm-hmm.
What was the first time you saw Paul? What was your first impression? Was there something that kind of clicked and said, yeah, I think I need this? Or what brought you to this point?
So as I was starting to grow my fleet, right, I've been operating solely off of the spot market, load boards and maybe a few connections here and there with brokers that I've dealt with for a while. And I started growing my fleet, adding a second truck, third truck, so on and so forth. And I'm so used to the numbers I'm able to produce by, being able to run a certain lane over and over and over. After a while, I started to notice that there was a lot more. I shouldn't say not necessarily that there was a lot more trucks, because there was that whole driver shortage thing, which some people believe is real or not. But I was getting used to being able to grab a certain product or a certain valued load from one spot, taking it to another spot. And sometimes I would be in a situation where that load isn't available. Maybe not today, maybe it's tomorrow, or another day or two. Versus when I was first getting started, it was available always. Like I didn't even need to think about it. I go on a load board and there was one right there waiting for me.
So I'm guessing that was right around 2018.
Exactly. So I started getting to the point where I was like, you know what? I need to figure out a better solution, something more consistent, a way for me to actually not deal with a broker, but actually deal directly with the shipping facility. And, kind of looking around, I tried a few things for a while on my own. I wasn't really successful with that. And I actually saw one of your videos where you were introducing Paul, and I went ahead and contacted him myself.
Okay. And about what time frame was that?
I want to say maybe 6 months ago, maybe roughly, Paul. I think so.
Yeah, about that.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So when I imagine you probably talked a few times before you were sold on the idea. So when did you actually start to work with Paul?
We started working together, I want to say towards the end of last year.
Okay.
I actually had a family, a loss of family. So I told Paul that between everything going on in my life, I didn't really have the ability to work with him that well.
Right.
So we went on a little bit of a break, but it was towards the end of last year that we got started. I want to say maybe November or October or so.
All right. So you saw Paul. Boy, that had to be one of the first videos. Okay.
Yeah.
So you saw Paul on here. You decided to contact him. Like, how was
actually,
that first?
I think the first video you didn't even have Paul. I think you were just talking about the service.
Okay. So your first call to Paul, what was that like? What was your mindset coming out of that? Because I remember my first call with him, and I'm like, jeepers. Boy, all these years I've been missing all that. So what?
Yeah.
How'd you come out of it?
So Paul is extremely knowledgeable. He knows the industry quite well from that point of view as setting up relationships. So he had a wealth of knowledge beyond what I was ever expecting. I kind of thought it was just going to be a basic service where kind of instead of me hiring somebody to make cold calls for me, it felt more like I was dealing with like a true professional, like that high quality service. Like instead of going into a Honda Civic dealership, I was going into a Mercedes-Benz dealership.
Yeah.
That was a different level of professionalism to Paul. And after working with him for a while, I definitely felt I can hear it. And whenever he was showing me like the call recordings, you can hear when he's talking to these customers for me, the level of professionalism and how well he's able to I shouldn't say persuade, because it's not like he's trying to get somebody to go against their will or whatever, but he does a very, very good job at making sure both me as well as the shipper in this instance are fully aware of what's going on and what products and services we both can offer to each other.
He educates.
He's really, really well at that. I can't even put it into proper words. I probably would have answered the phone and said, "Hey, do you have any loads?"
So, Paul, are we making you squirm a little bit, or are we making you a little bit uncomfortable here?
Yeah, you probably should. You guys should probably go on ahead and talk, and then just call me back when you're done. So.
No, we're giving you the credit you deserve. So, okay, so then I imagine, Jeffrey, you thought about it a while, decided, okay, I'm going to do this. How has it been? Like, how has it been, firstly, on the side of, having success of what you set out to accomplish? And then, like, for me, it was a total mindset change. And it just like somebody flipped a switch. And I'm like, you know what? I get it now. Like, I see opportunity everywhere.
Yes.
Did that kind of happen for you?
Yeah. So
I
will say,
but
no, you're fine. I will say due to the length of time that me and Paul has had to work together, nothing set in stone has happened yet.
Okay.
But I can tell you from the experience that I've had with him, the way how I do business, the way how I see opportunity, the way how I evaluate things has completely changed, right? You know, when you're first starting off in this industry, for most people, right, you're probably just an employee. You know, even if you're one of those lease operators underneath a big company, and they quote unquote say that you're an owner op or whatever, you can make your own hours. You're not actually thinking like a business owner, and that took a very long time for that switch to finally click for me.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry, go ahead.
Honestly, you're in one of the toughest markets in the country.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, it's going to have a level of difficulty, but
Yeah.
I'm sure that by now you probably see, okay, judging from what's going on, like this is going to happen.
Oh yeah.
Because just from the conversations you have. So I would just encourage you to hang in there.
Oh yeah.
Okay. It can be discouraging. You don't like everybody thinks I hire Paul. He's going to, everything's going to be a win. No, it's going to take a little work, right?
Of course.
You're not going to hear yes every single time, but you're going to hear way more than you used to.
Oh yeah.
A couple of questions in the chat quickly. We're going to come back to them. Son of Jacob wants to know, how do I find Paul? And then Nick G, is Paul a broker or is this freight without a broker? We're going to come back to both of those, and Paul will explain his service, and then we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different things today. But right now we have Jeffrey talking about his personal journey with this. So how has it changed? Has it changed your mindset towards your business at all?
Of course. So kind of like I was saying, when I got started, right, I worked underneath a mega carrier when I was first getting my license. So I saw how they did things, and that's kind of what made me evaluate how I should do things, right? You get your truck, you get your trailer, maybe you should run these routes that you're used to running underneath someone else and just keep it going because they're successful, so I should be too. And it wasn't until I actually dealt with Paul where I realized that you don't really need to follow in someone else's footsteps, right? What you need to do is be the solution to somebody's problem. So a lot of times what Paul will do and what's been very eye-opening to me is we don't talk to a shipper and immediately start asking about what you have available or what price you want to move it at. We are officially we jump into the conversation talking about what's your headaches, what's your problems, what are the things that you wish could be changed or be added that would make you a lot happier, that would help your operation be a lot smoother, right? And after realizing that, I'm like, well, hey, maybe not all the time do you need a dry van. Maybe not all the time you need a reefer. Maybe not all the time you need a 53-foot trailer. So, and maybe this is due to my particular market, but I've realized that there's a better value, at least for me in my market. There's a better value at being able to provide a solution which would land me that relationship between me and a shipper versus being kind of set in stone with how I want to do things and then just completely not being available to the rest of the world.
So before you heard about this, before you decided to do this with Paul, like what was the main thing that if you had ever had this thought of like, man, I need to grow or whatever, get my own people, don't really know how to do it, but what was like the main thing you didn't know that you know now, like about the process, the phone call, how to talk to them? This, like, for me, I know what it is. It was like, I don't even know who to call. Like, I wouldn't even know where to start. So what was it for you? And that may sound stupid, but it's
you're fine.
True.
So I guess when you're first, when you're young and you're first getting work, right? 9 times out of 10, you're probably dealing with regular consumers, right? The average people. You're dealing with, somebody who has wife, kids, or whatever the case may be. You're not dealing with other businesses usually. So I'm used to the idea that when that person is directly on the other line of the phone or directly in front of me, I'm trying to convince them to do something that they may not necessarily want to do, right? At a car dealership, you're trying to convince somebody to buy a car even if that may not be what they want to do. They just kind of were looking around because they were bored.
Right.
Right. When I was working with Paul and he was showing me his recordings and everything. As a business, you're just truly trying to make their business happier, right? If I help you make $1 million, I'll probably make a couple 100,000 off the back end.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more along the lines of, not pushing, not forcing my way in, not trying to say the right words to win you over, just truly trying to be that person that you can come to, talk to, and be like, hey, we're having a hard time with this other carrier because they're not answering their phone. Or this other carrier, their drivers are constantly late. At sometimes you don't need to be the cheapest guy. You can actually be more expensive. But if the level of quality and service and professionalism you're providing is top notch, that will win you contracts day after day.
Yeah. Well, good for you, man. It's great to hear this.
Yeah.
It makes me happy. Like, so where do you think the future is going to take you? What do you think's in store for you? Like now that you've had this shift in thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are the possibilities for you? I mean, I know if you're like me, you see them everywhere. You're like, geez,
oh yeah.
Oh, if I only had this and that, we'd be 100 trucks tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm. So being the fact that we're based out of, the Florida area and most of our drivers are from this area, we really don't really like going into the Northeast. No offense with you guys who love it, but New York, New Jersey, that's just not our area.
Right.
So, there's been a few times where we would call up somebody and they would have loads running that direction. And I'm just going to have to say no. Me and my drivers don't run it. So I was like, instead of saying no, why don't I add extra services? So I actually went through the process of adding a brokerage.
Good for you.
So I can help out with connecting these people with an actual carrier.
You just became a go-to person for them.
Correct. On top of that, I'm actually in the process of adding, probably by the end of this month, I'm going to be adding 3 box trucks to my fleet.
Wow. Good for you. See, I see videos on YouTube sometimes of people saying, crap talking the carrier. I would never work for a carrier that also has a brokerage. They're just screwing you. They're doing this. Well, no, what they're doing is helping secure your future by servicing a customer and building a relationship with them so that you have work, right, to provide for your family, and they're building and furthering that relationship. So congratulations to you for doing that. I'm doing that similar myself. Finally, to the point where one of my customers will let me start handling some loads through the broker. So we're in a similar position there. It took some working up to it, but no, after a little over a year, they trust me. They know what I'm doing. So here we are, Yeah.
And then a couple of things to keep in mind, right? There might be a particular lane you really want to run, right? You may want to run that Carolinas to Dallas or something like that, right? You like that lane. You want to run that over and over and over. And after doing it for a little bit, those people, those shippers and receivers that are in those areas. So you might be thinking, let me hit up this shipper and get one of these contracts so I can do this lane over and over and over. They may not want to switch to you because they already have a perfect solution. But if you go in there saying, hey, what's that lane that nobody wants? Let me help you out with that. Then you can work your way into that lane you actually wanted.
Man, sounds like you've been talking to Paul. These are some of the exact conversations we've had. So the people that work for you, do they know about this? Do they know that you've been working with Paul? What do they think about it?
So I've mentioned that we're doing some changes and adding different products and services, as well as a partnership with other companies to kind of help grow and expand. I know one of my drivers has been, well, more than one, but they've been excited for it because they like the way how I run them. Like I said, in my market, it is kind of difficult, and I've been struggling but succeeding so far at maintaining an exact workflow to my driver's life. So being able to provide for them to know roughly what lanes they're driving in, roughly how much money they're going to bring home a week, roughly when they're going to be home. Like, they love that service. So the idea of me doing more that can guarantee them that consistency, oh, they're all for it. They're absolutely all for it.
Well, that's awesome. Awesome. Paul, what would you want to ask Jeffrey?
Well, I was going to say a comment, and then I'll think of a question. But one is that with what Jeffrey's doing, like a lot of times with carriers, I believe we're looking at, what's right in front of us, right? And so we're trying to get that load for that next day, for that next day, for the next day. So we stay in that cycle versus doing such a thing that will help us long term. Right. And so that's what Jeffrey is doing. He's seeing things in a different way, and he's making advancements that will help him long term. Right. So whether it is that the market is great, whether the market is not so great, there would be an opportunity for him to continue to thrive. Right. I mean, that doesn't mean that the trajectory is always going to be straight up. Right. But it's going to mean that he's going to be able to continue that staircase, going in the direction that he's trying to go. So, right. But as far as a question for him, I guess a question would be: do you find that what for the future, right? Do you see your future opportunity being more stable? Not saying that, you know what I mean? I mean, are you able to see that you're able to position things in a way that it's going to help you to achieve your goals? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I would love to just straight up say yes to that, but due to COVID and everything, it's kind of questionable as to where things may happen. But I would definitely say, compared to where I was when I was first getting started, where I was, so when I was first getting started, I would say the possibility of me going bankrupt or just having to get out of this business because it didn't work for me, there would be a 50-50 chance of that. And then after working with you, after realizing the correct way, I shouldn't say correct, but the better way of doing, the better way compared to how I was doing it, of doing these type of things, I would definitely say the chance of me failing, the chance of me not being successful has gone way lower. I don't think, by the end of the year, I'm going to be some billionaire or anything like that. Right. But it would be very, very difficult for me to go from where I'm at now to failure.
You kind of see a path to survival. Like if you see worst case scenario, and you don't see yourself taking that route. Is kind of what I see. Let me. We just had another gentleman pop in here, Kevin. I added him here. I got him muted for the moment. We'll bring him in. Jeffrey, I know we want to get you back to your function there. Let me ask you this. And Paul has altered his. You've altered your course a little bit over the last few months here, right, Paul?
A little bit, yes.
Okay, so I honestly have no idea what you charge, and Jeffrey, I don't want you to say that's between you and Paul.
Right.
People ask all the time. I honestly don't know. Tell me, number one, is it worth what you paid? And is it worth, I mean, do you see it being worth, I mean, like the way I look at it, this has brought me millions of dollars over the next 20 years. I don't really care what it costs. Is that kind of situation that kind of how you feel about it?
So I would definitely agree that the return on investment, right? The amount of money you're going to spend versus what you're going to get out of it, it's unmeasurable. You're definitely going to get way more out of it. It may not be, in certain cases, it may not be an actual price. In certain cases, it may not be an exact price. It may just be knowledge or experience or a direction that you were missing.
Paul stepped away for a second, so let's talk about him because Paul doesn't toot his own horn. You know he's very humble, right? It doesn't cost hardly anything, and he gives you way more than you pay for. Like he spends a lot of time on the phone with you that you did not pay for, right? Did you have the same experience?
Oh yeah, no, he definitely did. So the only thing I would say, which is different now, he added additional products and services to what he was initially what he's initially selling, I guess you can say.
Okay.
And at different points of your career, you may want certain things or you may not need them.
Yeah. I kind of encouraged him to do that. I'm like, make it so people can have options, right? You know,
Correct.
give
Yeah.
people options. So,
So I would say
well,
when I was first getting started, some of his more newer products and services would be what I would have actually needed. But I didn't regret going through with what I did. I absolutely enjoyed it.
good, good. Well, man, I really thank you. I thank you a
Oh,
lot.
no problem.
And is there anything else you kind of want to say before I'll let you get back to your wedding there, and we'll get Kevin in here, and just want to give you that last chance. Paul's away, so he won't even know what you say. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Now, the only thing I really just want to add for your listeners there is I don't really know your guys' level of success or where you are at your journey. I can tell you that Paul will definitely figure out a way to work with you and help you grow and become more successful. And sometimes you're just going to have to swallow your pride or whatever and make some changes. Success is going to be success will come to those who work the most for it. And, most of the time, it's the people who came up with a solution to somebody else's problem that ends up becoming the most successful. So
Excellent.
just be willing to adjust and change as time goes on.
Well, Jeffrey, I tell you what, if you ever want to be a part of this again or talk about anything else pertaining to this or otherwise, love to hear from like-minded people, like
Yes,
people
sir.
also going after that dream and after that goal. So you just reach out, and we can do this anytime. Okay.
Sure thing, bud. We'll exchange information.
Yeah. So thanks for coming in. We're gonna jump over to Kevin right now. Thanks again, man.
All right. Take it easy, Paul. Take it easy, DIY.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.
Kevin, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We hear you good. We hear you good.
All right.
Once again, thank you for coming in and stopping by here and talk. Um, so I don't know. Were you able to hear what we were talking about there a little bit?
Yes, I came in on the tail end of the gentleman's conversation. I've been here probably about 5 minutes, just listening.
Okay. Okay. So, if you don't mind, and only share as much as you care to, like, tell us a little bit about your operation and kind of where you come from, what you're doing,
Well,
how long you've been at it.
I've been in the freight business the last 28 years. I've been on the driver side of everything. I've done pretty much some of everything. I've been in Iraq. I mean, I've driven all type of different equipment.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what led you to? So now I'm assuming you have your own authority, your own carrier here.
Well, I have a broker's authority.
Oh, you're okay. You're the one. Okay, brokerage authority.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So brokerage is all about sales, right?
Yep.
How long ago did you start your brokerage authority?
In October of 2021. But let me back up and tell you how this all came about. Me and a friend of mine had taken another freight broker's course, and but we took the course. It was like a 2-day course, and that came that Monday. No, that Tuesday. He and I was talking and sharing. I said, man, I really feel like we don't got robbed, man. And I said, really don't know nothing. None of the information was retained. Everything was like, do this and do that. And it was more so geared toward the spot market. So I was looking around on YouTube and I came across your video and you was talking about how to get, how a carrier get their authority. And if they want to take a broker's course, the only broker's course they need. So I looked at that video. I looked at the video with you and Sage on it. And this was on that's Tuesday. This was on a Friday. I looked at the video and I reached out to him and he called me. Well, he reached back out to me and he called me and I was surprised. I was just blown away. So he started asking me questions about the brokerage. I couldn't answer him. He said he's, numerous people have called him and they've expressed that situation to him. And So he asked me how long had I been in the transportation industry. He said, because if not, my course is not for you. And I thought that kind of struck me as okay, I got this is a real teacher, this is somebody that is actually doing the work. And so I bought the course, and I mean I learned so much in a short period of time that I had learned, more. I had a lot of stuff he told me I hadn't heard any of that stuff, because like I said, I've been driving, and now I'm on the logistics side of things. So as I kept looking at the video, I saw you and Paul, and he talked about his freight sales training course, and I was like, oh man, this gonna be good. Yeah. And I reached out to him, emailed him, and we emailed back, told me the course wasn't ready. And so when it was ready, he called me and told me, say, hey, the course is up and running. I bought the same night, and I'm just amazed at the things that I'm learning in such a short period of time.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you're happy. I take it. Good. That's good.
I'm gonna put it like this: if it got any better, I don't know if I can really stand it.
Oh, I think we're making Paul blush a little bit, making him a little bit uncomfortable. Paul's, for anybody who's new, Paul's a very humble guy. It's hard for him to take compliments. It's makes me a little comfortable too to get compliments, but deserves it, needs it, like valuable information. So we wanted to, if you're just joining us, what we're doing here, we're talking to some of Paul's from Freight Connect, fr8connect.com. We're talking to some of his real, I guess you would say, students, customers, pupils, course takers, and we want to hear some of other people's personal experience, because just hearing it from me all the time kind of loses effect. So we thank you, Kevin, for doing this. And so you're here now. Have you just recently finished the sales course?
Well, I'm finishing it, but I'm learning so much. I mean, the way Paul teaches it to you, the way he instructs it to you, it causes, to me, and I've never heard. I tell him all the time, I've never heard, people say, well, it's find out this, find out that. But the way he teaches you when you call, how to, if whoever answers the phone, inside of 10 minutes, the way he teaches, you'll find out exactly who you need to speak with. That's the way he presents the information. And I've never heard that. And I tell him all the time, I say, really, a lot of these other guys, I listen at YouTube and they talk about they in the freight broker bit, but they don't even know how to get past the gatekeeper. They don't know how to build. In other words, how it's really come down to how to build that relationship. Everybody, like he teaches, everybody you come in contact with, you're building a relationship, because you never know what position that person on the other end of the phone may be in tomorrow.
Yeah, I say that constantly, but it gets to sound a little bit cliche, but it's not. I mean, it's everything. Like, that is as important as having the equipment to haul the freight sometimes, right? It's a big piece of the puzzle. So, yeah, YouTube is a double-edged sword sometimes. Some good, some bad, but a lot of it incomplete. So we're trying to put those pieces of the puzzle together here for the benefit of everybody. And so were you able to go back and take that brokerage course then with Eric?
I mean, I took the course with Eric and I was just blown away. And I compare myself to a lot of people that have taken brokerage course, even brokers that have been in the business, don't even know simple information like what is CarMax. They don't, when you ask what is CarMax, people thinking you talking about going somewhere and purchasing a vehicle or something. They don't even want, things like that. How long does a shipper have to file a claim against a carrier? Right. Things of that. Those are intricate parts that are very important if you're going to be in this industry, because like Eric teaches, a lot of these shippers got very deep pockets, and they can put you out of business real quick if you don't, if you're not aware of what you're doing, what you're up against.
Yeah, that is a good brokerage training class. Like, I despite whatever else you might think, it's good. I took it. I've been around a long time. I learned a few new things, and so you've had that brokerage training class. You've had this class. You're armed to the teeth. Like, you're right. A lot of the brokerages out there, or brokers, whichever way you want to put it, do not know the business that they're in. They don't know the basics of it. You after going through a class like that, or that one in particular, know way more about it than they do. So then the missing piece of the puzzle becomes sales, right?
Yep.
And how do I get this done? So this is where we're at right now. So how have your attempts been? Are you still kind of in the process of just making contacts and making relationships at this point?
Well, right now, Paul just got done with my broker package, so now I'm in the process of now putting my target list together as to who, my particular commodity that I plan to be brokering, putting that together, and that's why I can start making calls. But I mean, I'm excited because, like I said, it's a whole nother learning curve. But I'm glad to have a mentor like Paul to be able to guide me through these, troubled waters, because, like I said, the way he teach you, it's that info. I tell Paul all the time, for the price or the course, you practically giving the course away. People that
I told
him. Go ahead.
I told him, I'm like, make it high because it's worth it, man. You're gonna bring people millions of dollars over the course of the next few years if they go through it and they're successful. So maybe keep it the way it is, and then just say, hey, in 5 years when you're stinking rich, just break me off a little something, right?
I don't, to be honest with you, I don't see, because I was telling Paul last week, at some point, somebody gonna come along and say, we want an exclusive. Then the course is gonna go astronomical, or you won't be able to afford the course, or you won't, or say if you're able to afford the course. What course do you can buy that you can actually talk to the author, pick up the phone and call, and you got a question, and they'll walk you through it. Usually they say you something, and you pretty much on your own. You got to figure it out from there. Or they say someone from support send you an email. But Paul is very diligent. I mean, he's very thorough in his deliverance. I mean, I'm just excited. I love it. I mean, I'm learning. It's a whole new learning curve for me, but
Good.
and I'm very happy and pleased with. Not only does he teach you how to get past the gatekeeper on the phone, he teaches you, okay, what to say in the email, how to follow up in the email, how to respond in the email. If they say, well, we're going to email us your information. Now the process as to what to do. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Paul walks through all of that.
Right. So I don't know which. I'm assuming he went through the same course that I saw, Paul. That I kind of looked through.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Kevin, how did? What I really like about it is there's some recorded phone calls in there, right? Obviously, we bleep out the other person's voice, and you hear your side of it. Were those recorded? Oh, and we have Mike in the background here. We'll bring him in a little bit. Were those recorded phone calls not the best thing in the world? Like, did you find them very helpful?
Oh man, let me tell you what happened. Okay.
Tell me all about it. That's why we're here.
Okay, when I got it, it was like a short call. So I said, hey, Paul, I said, listen, man, I said, I think I'm a little more advanced, than this. I need to hear actual call. So he put it together for me. I could hear the call. So what I did, once I heard the call, exactly what verbiage was used, exactly how it was used, what to say, I played the call. I played daily. That way it gets into my subconscious. But not only did I play it, I went back and I wrote my script out as a broker, not as a carrier. Wrote it out, began to look at it, began to go over it, and start rehearsing the script, because I rehearsed it with him. Go over the script, and you begin to get confident. The more you do it, the better you get at it. It's like in it, anything else. Practice make perfect. So you gotta you can't be scared to pick up the phone and call. You got you have to cut your phone on, listen to the record to yourself, or get in front of your kids or your family or your wife or your significant other and say, hey, I want you to listen to and begin to that way you're gonna have to make phone calls. You're gonna have to be able to talk to people. They owe the phone. They ain't gonna bite you, but you must be able to be a very good communicator, because that's part of sales.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So what level, I don't know how far down the road are you? What level of customers are you going after? Where are you going to start? Your local
I'm in
something or other?
Right now, I'm looking at the rental equipment industry.
Oh,
It's a niche. It's a niche
yeah.
industry. Not everybody can do. I work for a rental company now, but it's a niche industry. Not everybody can do it. But I like niches because niches are something you can. There's always a demand for it.
The money is made in the niches. That's where the
Yep.
good money is.
Yep.
Well, excellent. Good. Paul, is there anything you would want to ask or say to Kevin?
Yeah. Hey, Kevin, man, I appreciate you taking out time to call in. Kevin and I always have good conversations, and he's really energetic and lively and really about his business. You know, he's about being positive and successful and all that good stuff. So, you know, he's just a sponge is what he is. And the thing is, I'll say this, you know, when you're talking about broker and then you're talking about carrier side, right, there is a difference from the standpoint of, like, let's say a broker, you know, it's pound, pound, pound. You know what I mean? I mean, as a broker, which I was at one point, you know, especially in the beginnings, you want to reach out to as many people as you can, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. You're working to develop that book of business. On the other side, as a carrier, you know, you may have a team that's doing that, and that's perfect. You know, definitely I would encourage that or support that. But at the same time, you know, when you're out and about, you know, because as a broker, you're not in the truck, right? But as a carrier, you're out and about, and there's opportunities that exist that we might not see, right? So the thing is to be open to those opportunities, be able to see those opportunities. And as Kevin, with his enthusiasm and what have you, you want to be able to have that same enthusiasm, you know, when those opportunities do present themselves to you, or you identify those opportunities. But then again, at the same time, you do have that opportunity to be proactive and looking for these different opportunities. Now with Kevin, I do want to ask him this. So Kevin, for you, what would you say, like, let's say before, you know, you and I got together, and I'm just always excited to see the light bulbs come off, right? What would you say was the main thing that turned the light bulb on for you? Meaning that, you know, all of a sudden you just see opportunity everywhere. You know what I mean? Whereas before, you know, it might have been limited, but can you identify what it was that helped that happen?
Well, for me, it was always a big mystery. How does freight sales work? And when you explain that you are in the process of building a relationship to solve the shipper's problems, their challenges, and how to have that relation, how to have that conversation, how to start the conversation, how to open the conversation, how to close the conversation, how to just build that relationship with whomever. And that was the missing piece for me. And then looking outside of the box as to, okay, now you can go into any industry you choose. But that was the big mystery of how do you have a conversation versus you going up to someone and saying, who do I need to talk with about moving your freight? Okay, once they tell you who to talk with, how do you have that conversation? That was a big intricate part. How do you have the conversation? How do you start the conversation? How do you open the conversation? How do you close the conversation? How do you follow up? That was a big mystery. So once you can't, you know, I mean, like I tell you all the time, you was a breath of fresh air because you came along and you demystified the whole sales portion of it. I mean, it was like, oh man, you begin to start, you know, your whole ingenuity my whole ingenuity began to change and looking at the bigger scope. Like, oh man, this is gonna be real profitable going forward.
Yeah. So Kevin, something you may not have even explored yet, or maybe you have thought about, you know, this information you just learned, definitely apply it everywhere in your business. And when it comes time for you to talk to carriers, use the same approach, because, you know, I had a little back and forth with a gentleman in email and the comments a couple of weeks ago, and it ended up actually a really friendly conversation. I'm glad we had it. That I shouldn't be encouraging people to go get their brokerage, or for smaller companies to take on a brokerage, because it's just one more thing, and it could be the straw that broke the camel's back. And the last thing we need is more brokers out here, you know, messing things up and doing things the wrong way. Well, we're kind of trying to do the opposite of that and encourage better people in better brokerages and get the fly-by-nighters out of it. So with this relationship building you're doing with the customer, you can take and apply that to the carrier too, and have the best of both worlds and build a strong, reputable brokerage. Really, you don't want to be known as a subpar fly-by-nighter who's just out there to rip people off, right? So when you start talking to carriers like this and explaining your positions and finding out what their needs are and why they need this and why they need that, and they're like, man, this guy has some experience. He actually cares about what I have to say. It's going to change things for you there too. So you're really only halfway into it, right?
Well, like I told Paul, he have you fill out a questionnaire when you first start with him to help you put your broker packs together. And I filled it out the first time. I was filling out again. I said, you know what? I said, I'm gonna take a lot of these questions, and I plan to, ask some of my carrier this, because I don't want, it's success. It's enough success for everybody. But if you educate your carriers, do you know the difference between things like, do you know the difference between contract rate, spot market rate? A lot of them, they may not know. They may not have had the same type training, like coming under, what you, Eric, yourself, Paul. Once you sit them down and explain that to them, I think for me, if I educate my carriers as well as my shippers, then we got a whole network. It's a win-win situation for everybody.
Yeah, you may work into a relationship where you're not even posting loads on the load board. If you're operating at that level, you might build a relationship with a carrier that wants to do that load all the time, and you never even have to post the load.
Right. You're right. You're correct.
So,
but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, but if you willing to share your knowledge and, like I said, educate, the people along the way that's around you, the only way you can have success, you got to have good people working with you at the same time. Well, it's a win-win, not just for me, but for them, for the carrier, for the shippers, for everybody. We got a win-win situation all around the board. You can't do nothing but be successful.
Yeah, and I actually happen to think that we need more people like you in your position, because in the end, the fly-by-nighters can't compete with somebody, if you're operating the way that we're talking about right now, right?
Right. You're correct.
You're knowledgeable. You're going to be the go-to person for this shipper or receiver. You're going to solve their problems, be the answer to their problems. And somebody's just like, oh, I'll do it for this rate. I'll take 10 of them. Put it on a load board. Well, it doesn't always work, right?
Yeah.
So I wish you all great success with that. It's a tough business. I don't know how much Eric got in it. It's a very tough business, brokerage, but once you start to make the connections, it gets a little better for you.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're right. It is a tough business. It's but if you my thing is, I would tell anybody the first key to wealth is education. If you educate yourself, that way you will know what you're doing when you do it. That's the first key. Educate. You got to invest in education. Whether, if you're going to be in the freight business, you need to educate yourself, whether it be brokerage, whether it be carrier, whether it be in sales. If you educate yourself, now you equip with the knowledge, and then you can apply the knowledge, as you see opportunity comes, you'll be able to apply the knowledge, and then you can have success. But if you fail to educate yourself, you open yourself up for whatever may happen, whether, it be good or bad.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, okay. And I think that as he talks about, like, educating, I mean, right now, as we mentioned, I sent out the FMI recently, which is the Freight Market Insight newsletter, and try to put stuff in there so that you can use that information, not just for your personal, growth, but yes, for your personal growth, but also when communicating with opportunities or your clients. You want to be able to, as he said, educate others and take this information and be able to just be able to use it to grow. I mean, you want to grow, you want your clients to grow too. Think about it. If you're working with a client, right, and their business grows. I remember way back in the day when I operated as brokers, there were agents who were working with pet food companies, right? And these pet food companies, or maybe even it might have even been like pet clothing companies, you know, clothing for dogs and what have you. And they grew. I mean, they just took off and blew up. The agent blew up with them as well. You know what I mean? They were able to help them, support them, and you know, do whatever needed to be done. But my point is that as you are being educated and you learn about things that are going on overseas, you know, whether it's the Russia-Ukraine thing, you know, how does that impact us? You know what I mean? How does that impact the markets? You can be that go-to person, you know, not that you are the expert at Ukraine-Russian relationships, but you know some things, right, that make a difference. And when you have that level of conversation, right, what ends up happening is they're starting to think about you, right, not the other person. You know, you're the one that has information that makes a difference. You know, you're the one that seems to be in the know, or at least always looking to be in the know. And it just takes you to a different level, you know, and a different level of thinking beyond rates. You know, like Jeffrey said, rates is not always the only thing, right? It can go beyond rate. It can be where they'll spend a little bit more money with you, you know. And then as Kevin, as a broker, I mean, you know, he's not focused on one or the other. It's like he understands carrier side, he understands shipper side, right? And that's going to make him a broker to be desired. You know what I mean? On both ends. And, you know, and that's the key. It's not that we want to get in here and have battle with each other. You know what I'm saying? You want to be able to get in here and support. You know, that's the key. We're here to support and keep this whole thing going, you know, the economy going, whether it's slow or it's on fire. You know, we want to be a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we got Mike here waiting very patiently. Thank you, Mike. Kevin, is there anything else you wanna kind of leave us with, and we'll give Mike an opportunity. He wants to ask some questions here.
Well, the only thing I can say is continue to educate yourself, and if you know, with the course that Paul has, I mean, you know, if you on the fence about it, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice, because you're gonna learn so much valuable information and insight that the information, you know, no one else is teaching us or talking about. So that's the only thing I can add to this. Continue to educate.
Okay. Well, I thank you so much. Thanks for stopping in. And anytime you want to talk about anything, reach out. Maybe we can do this again sometime. Okay.
All right. Thank you guys for letting me come on and invite me. I thank you guys. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, Kevin.
All right.
Bye now. All right, Mike, you have yourself muted.
Oh, here we go. Okay,
there
can you guys hear me?
All right, yeah. Thanks for waiting behind the scenes there for a little bit. Appreciate it. And more importantly, thanks for coming in. We didn't really plan for Mike. He said, "Hey, can I come in and talk and ask some questions?" And absolutely, that's exactly what we want to do. So thanks for doing it.
Hey, thank you guys for the opportunity. I'm not a driver. I'm an owner of a small business, construction material business. And I've been following the DIY trucking channel for months. I mean, maybe 4 or 5 months.
So you've seen this train wreck.
Yeah, well, hey, it's that along with a couple others. But the purpose of my call, like I told the gentleman who answered, is so we ship construction material all over the country. At any given point, we deploy out of multiple locations. And we've been having an issue of capacity for flatbed. We only use flatbed. Sometimes, you know, step deck when the flatbed capacity is very low. I think they have even put our material into I don't know the name of the trailer. It's the one that has the curtain and kind of the ribs on the side. Conestoga. There you go. Okay. But here's the question. So we've been in business about 9 years. We finally, over the last 2 or 3 years, we've really been mulling over the idea of adding trucking as a service. We do business with all the big carrier groups, JB Hunt, you know, Landstar, you know, I won't throw out all the names, and then local carriers, local brokers, and then local drivers. We'll use anyone who's available when we need trucks. So So we've finally come to the decision that we're going to need to start adding drivers to our service to our client just to support our carrier's capacity, especially when it's low. So first I want to say thank you, both you gentlemen, for all the content you gentlemen put out, because I've been eating it up. I've got a legal pad here. I take notes. I bounce it off with the other partner and some of the other people in the company just to make sure we're heading down the right road. So we've got our US DOT number. We've UCR registered. We're negotiating trucks and a trailer right now. We've got our first driver out of school. So we're in the beginning process of it, but there's not a lot of information for private carriers. And I don't know that, you gentlemen can answer these, but if anyone can, I'm sure it'll be you gentlemen. And so everything you've been talking about with the brokers and the other drivers, and even the information you go through with the owner operators, I eat it up because it gives me insight into what's going on in that world and how I can be more successful getting my loads carried. Because sometimes money's not even the issue. It's certain states people don't want to go into, certain cities, certain places in the country. So adding that service as a private carrier, are there any maybe recommendations you have, maybe insight? Because it's not readily available, even through the US DOT, even through the SBA. We've gone through a lot of channels looking for information, and it's, most people go down the broker road or the carrier road, but the private carrier, there's just not a lot of info. So I don't have a specific question just yet, just maybe open to kind of glean whatever, information or direction.
The first thing I would like to say is obviously don't tie it to your current company. Make it its separate standalone company, because if you're not in trucking, you might not know the liability in trucking is enormous. So if somebody has a load of trusses on for you and they wreck and kill 4 people, you don't want $100 million judgment coming against your construction company, right? Uh-oh, you muted yourself.
That's true. Yeah,
okay,
I'm sorry. I've got a barking dog in the back, so
no
I don't
problem.
want him
That's all right.
to bother the show.
It's not a problem. So definitely separate that out from your construction business, and maybe get some legal counsel on that to make sure it's done. I don't, whatever state you're in, there may be some ways to go about it. That would be the biggest thing. Now, as far as being a private carrier versus a common carrier or a contract carrier, not a lot of difference. A little bit less permitting, but just know that you can never touch anybody else's freight. If it's not your freight, you can't haul it. So
exactly.
If you're sending trucks 1,000 miles with some of your product, maybe you don't want to bring them back empty. Maybe you do. I don't know, just to get them back. But if you want to have that opportunity to just grab something for a few $100s and bring it back to cover the fuel, you won't have that ability. So that's just something you'll have to talk it over as your group.
That's a good point. That's something that someone had brought that up. Someone who'd been in the trucking industry for many years did bring that up. Again, we are in the process of getting it separated from the company. Okay. And so because we've started down this road, we've got to do some unwinding once we push it over. But yes, we're along that same line. Okay.
Yeah, it's just, it sounds like you're a sizable company. This is probably one worth getting some legal counsel on. Absolutely.
Yeah, and we have, and okay. It's interesting how sparse the information is, and how, like the other gentleman, I think his name was Kevin, or that was talking, the niches. This is when you talk about counsel for construction or even transportation, it seems like it's a very niche, and you've really got to dig for an attorney who will put their stamp behind the counsel they give you.
I know of a good transportation attorney that does this kind of thing and can offer this kind of advice to you, and they're reputable. They know what they're doing. So shoot me an email, diysemi@yahoo.com. Because I don't know if I want to just give that out everywhere. Yeah. And I'll give you the name, and you kind of take it from there. But they would be the only one I recommend. There's probably more, but the level of incompetence in this industry is also very high. So I know they're good at what they do.
Very good. Well, hey, thank you guys, gentlemen, very much. Again, thank you both for the content you put out. I'm sure there's a lot of people like me who just glean, just want to know whatever we can know. So
yeah, Paul, do you have some things you want to offer there? I mean, that's kind of up your alley too.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say, and I think, I would probably even say, hey, DIY, go ahead, take that one. But the one thing that I would add to it is that there are shippers that, I've communicated with that have their own brokerage, you know what I mean? Or have their own asset-based side, So, the only thing that I could offer would be maybe trying to hook you up with, one of those guys, that have been doing it for a while, now to that point
maybe Kevin, maybe that's up Kevin's alley.
Yeah. Maybe even Kevin, you know what I mean? So, what I could do is simply, have your information and then maybe reach out to a couple of my resources and then, work to try and help you get connected with them. Right. Because as you say, for what you're trying to do, you're not finding it out there. It's probably out there, but you got to dig for it, but it might even be just who you know what I'm saying? And so I might be able to support you in that way. So if you want, what do you send out? There's my phone number. You got my phone number sitting right there. Yep. You've got
phone number and website are on the screen. Let me put the email up there also. Okay. It's I'll throw that up on the screen here. Okay. There we go. Yep, there's the email, paul.k@FR8 Connect.
So just reach out to me. Tell me what you need, and I'll work on that for you.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thanks again. You guys are a wealth of information. I follow you both. You'll find me somewhere in there, stalking you guys on YouTube, but it's well worth the information. So
very good.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys for your time.
Yep. Take care.
Great one. Oh, wow. Awesome. Hey, man, are you off tomorrow? I forgot. Tomorrow's a holiday.
I'm never off. We were every day here. What about you?
No, I mean, it's like I hear Monday holiday, and I'm like, what is that? What holiday are we now?
Also, what is a weekend and what is after hours?
What is after?
You can throw those things in there also.
So, yeah.
Boy, that was great. That was good to hear from those guys. Boy, I think Jeffrey there, the world is kind of his oyster. I think he's going to go. Sounds like he's going to go far with his carrier there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Jeffrey's got, I think he's very much about his business. You know what I mean? And that's a good thing. Again, he's a sponge, and then Kevin's a big sponge as well. But it's not just being a sponge. It's about then being proactive. Actually walking the talk, so to speak. You know what I mean? Actually doing it. So there can be situations, and you're aware of this too. I mean, as simple as, hey, reach out to the shipper and go about it this way, right? That can be terrifying. You know what I mean? Because there are so many preconceptions that we have. We just don't know. When you walk into the unknown, right? It can be a challenge. But what we work to do is try to arm you with what you need that's going to support you in that effort. And when you do go into the other side, you'll find that you're well equipped. You know what I mean? And that's what we want to do, is put you in that position.
Georgia Patriot says, the great thing about running your own business, you only have to work half a day, take a short break, and then come back and work the other 12 hours. Isn't that true? Hey, real quick, we had a couple people here ask about what it is you do, your service. Can you give us a rundown on that? And then we got Pelican Logistics just popped in. We'll bring them in here then. And you know who that is? Does that sound familiar?
They sound very familiar. Absolutely. What was the first thing? What do we do?
Who are you, and why are you here today? Who are you? Why are you on this program?
I mean, basically, I mean, I'm not going to try to go back and tell it all, but many years ago, I got into sales. Let's go back to 92, I guess, professionally. But even before that, I was into sales. And that's just been my thing. And it's always been about supporting others, you know what I mean? Helping them grow and things like that. And that is just my thing is how can we do that? How can we help you grow? So we're at this point. I mean, I was a broker at one point in 2001, became a broker, didn't know anything about it, learned about it, understood it. Still, I had that background of sales. Carriers used to talk about all the time when I was a broker, they wanted to grow. They got into this business for this reason and that reason. I was excited about it, but I wanted to help them to grow. Got to a point where we developed Freight Connect back in 2015. And that was all about how do we help carriers connect with shippers direct to build that strong foundation and give them an opportunity to grow. All the way up to now, from 2015 to now, we knew we were going to offer the sales program, training program, but we went through different phases to get to this point. So there are different components that we offer to help you develop direct shippers. And this sales training part of it, I think, has always been something we wanted to do, but we really believe is a huge piece, because I think I think Kevin and Jeffrey mentioned, it's that mind shift change. I mean, you mentioned it as well. I mean, when you're talking about that part and the light bulb goes off, man, I feel like my job is done, in the sense that, now we start. You know what I'm saying? So I guess it's only begun at that point. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Now it makes sense.
Now we can, let's go. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so we're here to help. We're here to help in that respect. Help your business grow.
Just to be real clear, because I'm told this is a 2-hour-long advertisement. You do not pay me to be on here. I ask you to do this because this industry needs it. Yeah, it is a good service, something I have done, something that has worked, something that works for other people. Yeah. And I promote it because I think, hey, we all sit back in this industry. You can see people all the time on the CB and in truck stop just screaming about how brokers screwed them. Well, this market is your chance to do something about it. Like, it really is. If you're interested, like, if you're not interested in really growing your carrier, being in it for a long time, maybe you don't want to. But if you want to be around and you want to, like, further your business, this could be for you. So it is your opportunity in this market to get your own customers. Yeah. Sage News stopping in. We were just talking about you. Kevin was on here talking about going through your service, your brokerage course there. So we recommended that. Drop a link to your whatever you got, channel, website, whatever you do. Feel free to do that. Let's get Pelican Logistics. Yeah, go ahead.
And then we go. I'm sorry. We had a carrier on, right, Jeffrey, and then we had a broker on, right? Then we had a shipper on. I mean, well,
Oh yeah, you're right.
You know what I'm saying?
Trifecta.
So I mean, you're looking at. I mean, dispatcher, I guess. But
I got so many more questions I want to ask him.
Right. But here's the thing is that for me, honestly, I mean, and this, there were other things that we wanted to talk about, right? I mean, there's just so many things to talk about in regards to the market, in regards to the industry, in regards to what's happening with freight. Where do we see things going? And be able to put that information out, because I think that that's very important, and that helps you to make decisions within your business, right? And but Jeffrey, he called in early. He had an event and what have you, and we just kind of went in that direction. So it wasn't really planned, you know what I mean, for us to talk so much about in regards to my program or what have you. But it's really about even if you never take my program, right? There is a whole different world out there, right, that could help you stay in business, right? Grow your business, right? Pass on your business. And that's what we're talking about, So however hopefully that's the way you're taking it in, how can I help my business be what I want it to be? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And then you come here and watch this for this information, and then I totally bungle it by having a shipper on and not asking all the follow-up questions I should have asked and picking his brain more. That was an opportunity, and I just screwed it up. So sorry, folks. Maybe someday you'll actually turn into a professional show.
We learn, right? This is how we learn.
Now that he's gone, I have all these questions.
Yeah.
So
All right.
okay,
I'm sorry about that.
let's get Pelican Logistics in here
Yeah.
and see what is this. Do you know who we're talking to here? They got themselves muted. Pelican, you got yourself muted, so go ahead and hit that unmute button. We'll see if they pop in here.
Sorry, guys. I don't think my headphones are working. How's it going?
There you are, right there.
Hey.
How's it going there?
Pretty good. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Doing good.
How you doing, Paul? Very nice to meet you, sir. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't know. This is my first time actually watching the podcast, watching the show, so I'm not really I'm not sure. I don't know your name yet.
Oh, my name's Adam.
But yeah, thank you guys. Tell me your name. I'm sorry.
My name's Adam.
I think the audio is not working. What is it?
Oh, my name's Adam. That's okay.
Are you able to hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You
Okay,
can?
you go ahead, Paul.
Adam. Then there we go. There's Adam.
So, just to kind of give you a little bit of background about Pelican Logistics, we're a trucking company based out of Houston, Texas. Been in business about 3 going on 4 years. We met Paul, actually, our operations manager introduced us to Paul. And so I've been in contact with him. What's it been, about the last week and a half, 2 weeks?
A couple weeks.
And so we've gotten into the course. We've completed the questionnaires, which have really kind of given us an opportunity to take more of an introspective look at like what we want to do with the company, where we see ourselves going forward, and what kind of value that we offer to shippers and customers. So I think, just that aspect alone has been very beneficial so far. Yeah.
I don't know if Adam is still there, but yeah. So yeah, like you said, we've been communicating over the past couple of weeks, and then so to kind of take the I guess, so to speak, spotlight off me for you. So what are you guys trying to accomplish? Where are you guys at, and where are you trying to go? Where are you trying to go with the company?
So, like I said, we've been in business for about 4 years, going on 4 years. So far, we have 3 trucks and 2 trailers. And kind of going back to what Adam said earlier, do you see your company having longevity? Do you want to be in the trucking industry long term? And, as far as us and the other managing members of Pelican, we would like to be in the industry long term. And so, knowing that and knowing what goes in, sustaining that kind of longevity, we know that it's important to create these relationships with shippers and customers so that, we can provide value to them, and in return, we can run a successful operation. So, next 5 to 10 years, we see ourselves definitely operating under our right now. So the way that we operate now, we're leased on to a carrier. And so, next 5 to 10 years, if we're successful, and I won't even say if, I'll say when we're successful in securing some shippers, customers, and, letting them know what we can provide to them. We'd like to see ourselves at least 10 to 15 trucks and, automated to where most things kind of can, day-to-day operations can run smoothly. We all know how the truck. We know how.
Does anything ever happen smoothly in this industry?
I say that lightly. But we definitely want to be in the game long term, and we'd like to see ourselves grow, and maybe even team up. We know it's a team sport, so you can create relationships or build rapport with other trucking companies who can we can together and have strength in numbers. That's an option also.
I think that's in terms of, okay, let me ask you this then with, and I'm going to the course, but, and I know a little bit about your background. Can you tell us what your background has been, right? And then tell us, has the course in any way been able to give you a different perspective in regards to what you guys are trying to accomplish?
So, personally, I don't have very much background in sales, and I can pretty much speak to the other managing members. We don't have very extensive sales background. By trade, I'm actually a nurse practitioner, so I work in the medical field. But as far as sales, I do have a little bit experience as far as real estate wholesaling.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think I kind of briefly hit on this when we spoke on the phone, but I realized that there were a whole lot of similarities between real estate wholesaling and, sales as far as finding a shipper. Mm-hmm. And of course showed me that, especially kind of when we got into the real meat and potatoes of it, and we started to get into the transcript that we do during the cold calling. Mm-hmm. And, basically it's a relationship. You just have to be able to build relationships, and you have to be able to convey quickly what type of value you can provide, what kind of services you provide. Mm-hmm. So, with my experience in wholesaling, that along with what the course offered, it was able to kind of just make that light bulb go off and say, okay, so, this is maybe doable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's not, and all transparency, we haven't got to the point yet where we have actually made calls together, right? With any shippers. We haven't done that part yet, but that's another part of the course that we're going to get to, So, and then it'll give you an opportunity to explore, these things that we've talked about and actually see it in action. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it just, we're just stair stepping to that. So very good. Excellent. Adam, can you, I don't know if he can hear you, but
yeah,
I can hear you now, Adam.
You can hear me now? Okay.
So just a question from the chat.
Yeah, nice to meet you. The audio was messing up, but very nice to meet you, sir.
And thanks very much for doing this. We do really appreciate it. Somebody asked, okay, 3 trucks.
Yeah, it's gone out again.
Oh. Let me put it on the screen here. You read this comment and respond.
I still can't hear very much.
Are you able to? He was saying that you can read what he put on the screen, which was the question he was going to ask, and then you can respond to that.
Let's see. Is it in the chat?
It should be right on the screen. Do you see? You're looking at the monitor, or you say, "I'll read it to you." I'm sorry, I'll go ahead and read it to you. I wonder why you have 3 trucks and lease under a carrier.
Correct.
Well, they're asking you. It's a question. I'm sorry.
Oh, so why do we? Oh, okay. So we're really just starting to really learn the trucking game, and so being a really new company, honestly, none of us had experience in the trucking industry when we first got in, and so the idea of getting our authority and working with our own motor carrier number, and having to deal with the insurances and a lot of things that we really weren't familiar with at the time. We found that it was a little bit easier to transition into the industry by leasing on to another carrier. And so, for the people that kind of go in and they automatically get their authority and never actually lease onto a carrier, I feel like one of the benefits, or a few of the benefits of leasing with a carrier, is they already have the relationships, with some shippers and some customers. Usually they kind of come with their own back office and they can handle, paperwork efficiently, more or less. And they also, usually have dispatch. And so dispatch, is something that every trucking company needs. And so if you're a company or if you're an individual that doesn't necessarily have those things in place yet or just starting, I feel like leasing on is another option that, can actually work. And so that's what we did. We leased on, and we built a really good line of communication and a good relationship with the carrier that we've leased on with. And so it's just worked so far. And not saying that that'll work in the next 5 to 10 years, but the operation that we have right now, it works for everyone. So that's pretty much why we chose to lease on.
Mm-hmm. So that was a way to get started and get introduced to the industry. A way to
start off with 3 trucks and 2 trailers. You know, we started off with 1 truck, and then shortly after we bought another truck. But the 2 trailers were actually, you know, pretty recent acquisition.
Mm-hmm. Great. Excellent.
So, you know, it's definitely given us the opportunity to learn and to grow at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say then the and I'm just asking these questions because this is where I come from, right? In regards to that sales aspect of it, or being introduced to it, and whether, you know, whether it's however it would have come about, but obviously it came through the course. Do you see that being a vital part of supporting you in your efforts to grow, or to, you know, go to the point of getting your own authority and feeling like there is, I have a direction that will help me to acquire clients and to grow? You know, that's a pretty big leading question, but you can answer it any way you want.
You know, I think that the course absolutely makes a smooth transition and a good segue into acquiring customers and shippers. You know, the more that I learn, the more that we learn as a company. I don't necessarily think that just working off of load boards or maybe leasing onto carriers necessarily sustainable long term. Really want longevity. So everybody has their different reasons or different plans while being in the industry, but for the longevity that we want and for the way that we see the company growing long term, you know, we think, you know, having designated routes, having freight that, you know, we can get consistently is an important aspect of it.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. Adam, you have anything? I don't know if we're
I'm just kind of letting you do your thing here because he can't hear me very well anyway. So this is kind of a good example.
We have to get this audio working for next time so we can talk with Adam too.
Yeah. So it's kind of a good representation of the conversation that you'll have when a customer or a prospect calls you to find out about the course. It's just kind of how the conversation goes, right? This is.
Yeah, I mean, you know, with as far as, let's say, with the course, or even let's say with you know, Pelican, and again, we can go from talking to someone that's a carrier, right? They've got their own authority, and then we're talking about a broker, then we're talking about a shipper, and now, you know, we're talking about Pelican, who is you know, they're leased under another, and so with that, I mean, we're talking, and then there can be those that are thinking about getting into the industry, right? The key thing, I think what Kevin said was talking about demystifying some things, right? Because there is that connection when you're talking about, we all know when we get into this industry, let's get a load board. Let's find load boards. I get that all the time. Are you guys a load board? I understand you guys are a load board, right? That's fine. I always tell them all the time, working with the broker makes sense. Working with the broker, there's going to be times you're going to need to work with the broker, right? Especially when things turn, right? When things aren't as hot as they are. But at the same time, it's your company, and your company has value to bring, right? One of the things we do have is a questionnaire we help you fill out, and you know this, Alice, right? You know about the questionnaire that you guys are completing. And what we have you do is complete it in the beginning, go through the course, you complete it again. The reason being is some of those questions, we hope that the course helps you to start thinking in a different way. And then when you answer those questions again, you're going to have you're going to be more enlightened, right? And you're going to probably think in a different way. How do I approach certain situations? How do I approach how I think about my business? How do I approach thinking about clients, right? And then that way, you're in a whole different realm when you are communicating with them. Now, it still takes time, you know what I mean, to make that like who you are. But what happens is you become you can look at yourself as working to develop partnerships, right? Why would you not want to develop a partnership? Because then not only do you have their best interest, then they also have your best interest, right? And you guys can grow together, you know. So, go ahead.
A symbiotic relationship.
100%, right. That's right on the money. So, and that's what we're talking about. We have to start somewhere, right? And then work to get there. Now, for me, and I have conversations, with obviously different clients of ours, and we have really good conversations, and I really enjoy it. Not only am I giving information, but they're also giving me information too. I mean, when Adam and I talk, he enlightens me on some things. Times change, from one month to the other. There's some things that happen in between those 30 days, right? And we're always looking 6 months down the road. We're trying to give you our insight in regards to that to help you think, beyond just today. But as we know, we can't predict things 100%, right? But these are things that we want to put out there. So then you have an opportunity to say, hey, you know what? Let me kind of think about this. Let me dig on this. Let me talk to my customers about this, right? Let me be a little bit more insightful, not just about rates and point A to point B. You know what I'm saying? So at any rate, I'm done talking about that, but we're going to have to get you in here, Adam, and talk, because I'll just keep talking about what I do.
That's what we want. So anybody that's just coming in here, what we're doing is we've talked to Paul from Freight Connect many times, and I said, hey, people probably tired of hearing from me. Let's see if we can reach out and get some of your course participants in here, share their personal experiences, and so people can more maybe liken it to their situation, because not everybody's doing what I'm doing. Not everybody's doing what Ellis is doing here. So I completely understand why you leased onto a carrier like it. Even besides the things that you mentioned, it lessens your exposure. If you're new in this industry and you're jumping in with your own authority, you quite possibly have no idea of the amount of responsibility you're taking on and liability in addition to everything else. So there's steps, there's steps to everything. And I don't think it's a bad way to start. Like, you were able to go from 1 to 3 trucks leased onto a company. If you had your own authority, maybe you wouldn't be able to do that as quickly, because there's a lot more cash outlay. You got to wait for your money. A lot more things to do. So I think it's actually a really good plan, maybe not for everybody, that you build something inside of a company, and right now you're doing the research so you can hit the ground running when it's time to make that leap. And I think it's actually really smart.
Oh, Ellis, did you hear that?
Probably not.
No, I did.
Oh,
Still not. You know what? I feel like I'm missing out on so much good.
Well, he basically was saying that he feels that
you'll have to go back and rewatch this.
Yeah, you'll have to go back and rewatch this part. But he said he feels that the direction that you guys have taken is a smart thing, right? It limits your risk. And, it gives you an opportunity to grow without having to have that exposure. So, but yeah, go back and check it out. So, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw him sitting there. I was sitting there, and I was like, I don't know if he hears it.
That's okay.
But
that's okay.
Just to kind of go back and piggyback off of what you said about the questionnaire. And how you initially fill out the questionnaire, you may be a little bit unsure of what marketing is and sales, and unsure of where you stand with marketing and sales. But you'll really be surprised at how different your questionnaire comes out after taking the course, and how different those are. Of course, I've only done the personal post questionnaire. Even I can already imagine, filling out the company questionnaire, how different the questions, how different the answers will be. What we've recently learned.
Yeah. And let me know, it should be up and running now. I know we had that block on there, but I think we got it taken care of. So you should be able to access it now. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Anything else, Adam?
Not really. I think you guys, this is a pretty good conversation there. I'm glad that you kind of took it over.
Okay.
No, I am, because that's give people an idea how it will go. Like, if they call to talk to you, like you're interested in them, right? It's not a high pressure thing. You're like you're vested in their success. I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And you always under promise, over deliver. I think anybody would. I don't think anybody could argue with that. That's done it. So.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, Ellis, hey man, I appreciate you coming in, man. Yeah, man, and we're going to be talking. Okay, you know, probably I'm sure this week. I know you're a busy guy though, but yeah, we'll be talking. Okay.
This is priority.
Yeah. All right. Very good. I'm available. Okay.
All right. Very nice talking to you guys. Adam, we'll have to catch you another time. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Thanks for coming in. We'll see you later.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks. All right. Very good.
That was good.
Yeah.
That sucked. He couldn't hear me, but that's okay. StreamYard is like that sometimes.
It work next time.
We covered. Wow. We got the whole. What have we missed? The only thing we missed here is a receiver hasn't called and we've had a shipper, carrier, a broker, somebody operating under somebody else's authority.
Yeah. Dispatch, I guess, would be another one. But yeah. But yeah, absolutely. And it's a thing of, man, I mean, the industry is so great. And I say this all the time, you know, you can get in here and there's an opportunity for you even to make a position. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the industry is just so big. So in terms of, you know, what we're talking about, I mean, when we talk about relationships, right? That goes across all lines, you know, in developing relationships. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be sales. I mean, even in accounting, right? I mean, accounting can work to develop better relationships. You know what I'm saying? And, again, if you're talking about, which we're all in the business and trying to figure out how to get more customers, right? How to make more money and things like that. But we have to work to take care of the foundation, right? That's how I see it, is that we need to work to develop that foundation. And once you're able to do that, and then other people come along, they'll know it's a good place to be. You know what I mean? You know, as a carrier, as a shipper, as a broker, as a whatever, you know, they'll know it's a good place to be. So, but yeah.
Cross country trucking says, can you haul freight and not use a broker? Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about today. And that's what Paul teaches folks how to do. That's what he does. That's what all these other people were talking about that they're learning to do. They were talking about their experience. So we just threw his contact information up here on the screen. So if you're interested in reaching out, actually go back to the beginning of this and watch all the conversations we had here, so you can you know all about it by the time you call here. So are we expecting anybody else, or was that everybody?
There could be more. I don't know.
Okay.
There could be more.
Okay. So let's step back. We boy, what all were we going to talk about? Freight. February, first quarter, record-setting February, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it is, man. I mean, we're at a point where, you know, freight is at, like, during this time period, you know, when you come off the holiday, right? We're back up to there. November. I mean, last year was just incredible. There was tons of, I mean, the whole year, it was just incredible. And I don't think we realize how incredible a year is until it ends. You know what I mean? It's like when something's gone and we look at it, or even look back on someone's career, right? We don't appreciate it until it's over, right? And so the same way with 2021, there was just an incredible amount of freight volume that moved, but we didn't have much movement in regards to capacity, right? That was the thing that kind of allowed freight rates to be high, right? So there was a lot of money to be made, and there's still money to be made. Capacity is still not where it needs to be to help the volume of freight that exists. Normally we come into January, and what happens is freight volume starts to dip, right? Everyone then goes on vacation. There's inventory that happens. And then there's just like a pause period before we start up again. There's Chinese New Year's that comes about, slows things over in China.
Are we in the middle of that? Isn't that going on right now?
Man, I think, no, I mean, you might be right. I didn't look up the data. Probably can Google it real quick, but I think it is here in February. I want to say last year, maybe it was March. I can't remember, but yeah, I think so. It's in February. But here's the thing is that we've got so much freight on the water, that's backed up. I mean, I think early February, we're well over 100 ships that were parked out there, vessels that were parked out there on the water on the Pacific coast coming into Los Angeles. And then I don't know where we're at now, 70 or 80, something like that. So it's gone down. They've been able to move some off the water, but it's still at a high level, right? So yes, you're right. February is it's a lot of freight out there.
It's also RFP season, so shippers and receivers are putting out RFPs, which is a request for proposal. It is a time of year typically when carriers bid on freight for customers. And now last year at this time, we were coming out of COVID, things were absolutely crazy. And here's something I've been seeing, okay? We were coming out of COVID, things were crazy, rates were through the roof. Nobody wanted to lock in contract rates at that point because they thought this is temporary, things will settle back down. So for now, we're just going to put everything on the spot market, ride it out. We'll get better rates, later this year or next year.
Right.
It's next year. It's next year, and it's February, and they aren't any better off this year.
Yeah.
Now, but they're starting to realize we better put some of this stuff under contract because, number one, this is continuing. It's not getting that much better, and we're about to lose control of it here. So they're wanting to put some things under contract, and that's where they need us. So it's like more opportunity, and the reason I know this is because I get these RFPs emailed to me. Like we're looking for 6-month bids on, and I'll get an Excel spreadsheet with 800 lanes on it.
Right. There you go.
And I get these from all the different places, and I'm like, I can't bid I spend all my days bidding all this stuff. But getting a lot of those. So it shows that they are trying to pull a lot of things back contract. So you might see a dip in volumes on the spot market, and you kind of are. I'm seeing it in my area. It doesn't mean the freight doesn't exist. It doesn't mean the freight isn't there.
Right.
It might be. If it's slow down, it's the time of year, but it also means that some freight is going back contract.
Right.
So and what they've discovered is also, okay, we're going to contract some freight here, but we're going to have to pay. We're going to pay elevated rates, but to keep it out of the spot market because that spot market's crazy. So there's great contract rates to be had.
Right.
They're not that far off spot rates right now.
Right.
I mean, they're going to be a little lower, but would you rather, I mean, if you're looking at this with a long-term perspective, do you want $5 a mile for the next 6 months, or do you want $4 a mile for the next 6 years? Right. And then obviously it's fuel surcharge is going to adjust. So if fuel goes to $7 a gallon, you're not left out in the cold. But that's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah.
They need badly to have some certainty in their businesses because this is killing them.
Yeah. As a carrier, it would be nice to have consistency. I mean, that's a big word, or a consistent word. Consistent word that I hear is consistency in terms of having that consistent freight, right? And obviously, getting that same dollar amount. So the money is good right now. As far as shippers go, they're looking for the same. They're looking for consistency. They're looking for, I know I have a client, and we call into Canada quite a bit, and I hear a lot of it up there. They're looking for carriers. They're looking for consistency, right? They're looking for, even though this is what they tell me, we don't want to pay a lot of money. The rates are just crazy, but we understand the environment, right? And so therefore we may have to pay a little bit of money, but we're not wanting to pay, crazy money, this gouging money. So what they do is, they're looking for someone that can help them and support them. So my thing is always get in there now, right? I mean, if you can make a lot of money right now, and that's fine, right? How about when things do change? I think you may still want to be in there. And if you're taking care of them and doing the right thing, then you may find, I would hope that, they're going to take care of you during those time periods when there's not as much freight out there, but you have then built this relationship, right? So that you can sustain beyond the way the market is right now. So there's a lot of freight that's out there that does exist, you know.
And some people, they're looking for you. Some, you know, they may not know you exist. You know, there's thousands and thousands of carriers.
Yeah.
Let them know you exist at minimum, right? Because 90% of the other people are scared to. So it doesn't take a lot. Short, quick story. I just built a shed and I'm trying to get some electricity put in it.
Oh, okay.
And
You're going to do that.
all I need is an electrician to come out and inspect my service box so the power company can come and put a meter in it and turn the power on. I cannot get an electrician to, number one, answer the phone or return my voicemails to save my life. There's one down the street about 2 miles, drives past my house 4 or 5 times a day, would take 2 minutes to stop in and do this inspection and probably charge me $150. Be the easiest money they ever made. And I can't get them to call me back. I've stopped at their place. Their doors are always locked, but they're working. I'm like, okay, so how's everybody else doing business right now? You know, if it's sometimes all you have to do is call somebody back and you got the job. Like if all he has to do is call me and he's got the job.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. It's right there. Yeah. It's, you know, it's so funny, you know, because I mean, I've had clients and it's been a matter of just telling them, make the call. You know what I mean? It's like, just make the call. And, you know, we may have set everything up already, or, you know, we may have had these conversations where it's like, here's the natural next step. Right. And not just that we've made the call, but, you know, we've coached them along or told them, you know, every step of the way, what has happened, you know, up to that point. And at that point, it still can be a terrifying thing, you know, to make that call. But I'll say, hopefully we have coached you enough to where when you do make the call, you know, you'll come out good on the other end. But I know that we will, you know what I mean? We'll coach you in that respect. So like you said, just make the call. That person on the other end is a person just like you, right? Yeah. So we're all people. We're all just people, and you know, we're all busy, right? We all have things that we have to do, and at the same time, just you calling, there's going to be somebody else that calls. You know, maybe there is someone else that does call, and you don't make the call. You know, so the thing is, for me, is I'm going to make the call and not allow that to be an option where someone else makes the call and I didn't, right? Because I lose because I don't make the call, right?
You can live with no, you can't live with not trying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Somebody wants to ask a question here. Wiggler says, can I call on the phone? I put the link in the chat. All you'd have to do is click on that link, and then if you don't want to turn the camera on, just turn the mic on, and you'll come in as a phone call like the other people did. Just do that if you want to. Georgia Patriot wants to know, so if you bid a contract and win, how does fuel price increases and fuel surcharge work? Is there an industry standard surcharge updated at a scheduled interval? There's some guidelines. Everybody can come up with their own surcharge. Like on spot market freight, it's just usually flat rate. It's in the rate. On contract freight, you would normally bid that. I mean, you can bid contract freight flat rate, but normally you'd bid, say, you know, $3 a mile, and then you come up with your own fuel surcharge schedule. There's ones all over the internet out there. I have one I've come up with. Nobody's is exactly the same as somebody else's, but they're all probably pretty close because you got to be competitive. Typically, what it would be based on 6 miles a gallon, and fuel surcharge would start at $1.25 per gallon. You know, anything over that, every time fuel goes up 6 cents, it's another penny a mile. That's just an example. There are many different ways to do it. Some people do it as a percentage, which I don't like that, but it's the way some people like to do it. Tennessee Orangeman, thanks for the super chat, by the way. Appreciate it. Thanks everybody for a super chat. Sorry I didn't shout everybody out here. We were just in the middle of some great information here. I didn't want to interrupt the flow. Freight trucking, Michael. Oh, the shipper here dropped one here. Big Rigger 61. Thank you. Also joined as a channel member. Cash is King. Anybody's welcome to drop their channel links in here if they want to. What's up? Tennessee Orangeman says, Georgia, most surcharges are baked into the price. I could care less about fuel surcharges as long as they meet my price. I'm kind of the same way, especially on spot freight. I don't care about surcharge on spot rate. It's built in. Just ask for more money. Tennessee Orangeman says, Paul, I just want to ask, do you do any work in Pennsylvania?
Sure.
Oh boy, does he. What do you say, Paul?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, and when you say that, I mean, you know, for the program that we offer, I mean, we'll work, you know, anywhere throughout the U.S. To help support you finding freight. One of the things that we'll do as well, you know, we can look at those areas in the beginning to determine, you know, what does freight volume look like in that area? You know, what is it looking like? What is competition looking like in that area? We can look back, you know, over the past few years even and see what freight volume has looked like, right? But definitely we can do that. PA is a market that is one of the top 10 in regards to freight volume. Yeah, in the U.S. market. Yeah. So, you know, you've got, what is it, Allentown out there, Harrisburg, I believe it is. And
I do a lot of business in that area. Love that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, you know, and then you have Newark out that way as well. So you've got some opportunity that does exist, but the answer is yes.
Okay. Somebody asked also 26-foot box truck, and the answer would be yes on that also. Pretty much anything power only, box truck, flatbed, any kind of trailer. Understand the level of difficulty may be a little higher, you know,
right?
But we'll put the effort into anything, you know.
Yeah.
And Cross Country was the one asking if you can haul freight without a broker, and he says customers or shippers telling me they are told they cannot. Well, that comes back to talking to the right person, right? If you're asking the person at the shipping window when they're handing your bill of lading, hey, can I haul direct from you? They probably don't care. Chances are 99 times out of 100 that's not the right person to talk to. However, sometimes they can steer you to the right person.
Right.
But they don't care. They just want you to go away.
Yeah.
Most times.
Yeah. I mean, as far as, you know, working with, I mean, the question is, as a carrier, can you work directly with a shipper? Is that what the question is? Is that what I understand? Okay. I mean, yeah, I mean, let me see. I can't think of a specific example, but I have, you know, many people that have told me this, and even my own experience, where a shipper on the dock, right, there may be someone that comes out and says, hey, you know, they may have, the carrier may have gone there a couple of times, and they're like, hey, how, you know, I've seen you here, I like your work and what have you, I'd love for you to help us out in this way, right? And they end up working together. You know what I mean? They end up working directly with each other. So it was the shipper that inquired with the carrier, you know, basically, how can we work together, right? There is nothing wrong.
I've had that happen.
You've had that happen? Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's a thing of, and here's the thing. If you think about it, what is the shipper saying, right? The
help.
Shipper is, go ahead. I mean, what do you think?
They're saying help. If I'm approaching people on the dock about hauling freight, I really need freight moved.
Yeah. They may have a lot of freight that they need to move. They may have a specific lane they need help in. Maybe that's just a better way for them, because in terms of communicating, maybe it's their client, right? That they like the way you do what you do, and it really helps their client, and their client is the one that keeps them in business. You see what I mean? So when I talked earlier about partnering, right? There is that, and then as far, going back to our programs, in regards to how we go about it, we want to be able to open up that mindset, right? So you can see the opportunity that exists and why it's there. Why does it exist, right? So when you ask that question, this is a part of our program. It helps you to broaden your scope, right? And see the opportunities that are there. So, yeah.
Right. Do you need to step away for just a minute? Or
Me?
Yeah.
No, do you? I'm good.
No, I'm good. Okay. Yeah. So, Georgia Patriot, yeah, if you win a 6-month contract, you definitely need the ability to adjust it for fuel surcharge. Do you see equipment prices dropping at least for 3 to 4 months when interest rates hike? No, they can raise interest rates if they want. If you can't make the equipment, this supply-demand thing is not going to get, it's not, there's the new equipment is not coming into the market, and it's not going to within the next 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
I've had many conversations on that with different places, and they all say the same thing. Talk to trailer dealers and truck dealers. They're all of the same opinion. Jackknife TV is from the Allentown area. Okay. Little clarification on that question. He said about the direct freight. He said that was coming from the person booking the loads to the broker and got to the top of the food chain at that company. It may just be that company. You're going to get different answers from different places. They may, you got to understand too, that person may get asked that question 30 times a day. So, you know, don't take that as gospel and I'm not going to try again. Definitely don't take it that way.
No.
Okay, so we got a guest here coming in. Don't know. Okay, let's just see how it goes here. Who we're talking to here?
Hey guys, my name is Wiggler. This is my first time on here.
Okay.
I was the one asked him the question why you have 3 trucks.
Right.
It's on the carriers, but I have a company. I start last May, and what happened is, I know in the beginning it's always hard to find like bucket to upload from them. So what I do, I set up everything. I list on another company for six months, and after 6 months, I go back and work on mine. So right now I have to renew my insurance. I'm going to add 3 trucks. And I wonder, like, I really want to look to see how I can work with direct shipper, not the broker.
Well, you've come to the right place, Paul. I'm going to let you handle this.
Okay. So, I mean, you're at the point where you said you're going to add trucks, right?
Yes, my insurance will be expired in April. So right now I only have a code to add 3 trucks.
Okay. Oh, I
but
see.
The 3 trucks, I have 1 and 1 trailer. I have 2 other trucks, so I don't have trailer for them.
Okay.
So it will be good. Like if I found like a direct shipper, I can use the trailer to move, drop and hook, and use my trailer because it's really hard to find trailer right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of hear that you may be able to find them, but they're just expensive. Is that kind of what
it's expensive. Like 2 years ago, I bought a trailer 2015 for 16,000. Right now, it's like the same trailer. Somebody give me like 49,000 for it.
That sounds like a bargain. So as far as that goes, I mean, obviously, I mean, the key thing, this is what I tell a lot of people is that, you know, right now, one might feel like they're not able to go, you know, advance as much as they'd like to. You know, I mean, I know Adam, he would love to be able to move all the freight, you know, that he can get his hands on, right? And there may be some limitations, but the key thing I think is at the same time, working to continue to develop those relationships. You know what I mean? As you are able to move freight for specific shippers, you might not be able to move as much as you want. There may be others that you are able to communicate with. But the key thing will be as you stay in communication with them, you know, and letting them know, hey, I've added a trailer, right? And you continually do that. You're staying in contact with them and you're continually advancing your company. They're going to see how you operate. You see what I mean? That becomes a what do I call that? That becomes your the interview process, right? I mean, you're always in an interview process, right? So they're always able to see what it is, how you handle business, right? So it can be where you're reaching out to shippers, developing these relationships, and then as time goes on, you know, you may be moving power only, and then you finally get your trailer, and then, you know, that opportunity advances from one of these direct shippers that you've been communicating with. But right now, I think the key thing is, you know, how do I find these opportunities? How do I communicate with them, right? And then, you know, how do I advance beyond. And I think that does that sound kind of like where you're at and what makes sense?
Yes. And I wonder, like every time I go to pick up a load, do I like ask to talk to the manager at the shipping office? I just don't know who to talk to find like who I can talk like to help me to find like the dark shipper.
Yeah. I mean, I think that that's just a good practice. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just a good practice from the standpoint of whether it's someone on the dock, just finding out about their business. You know what I mean? Finding out, how they do what they do, why they do what they do, in regards to their product, in regards to their clients, what's important to them, these type of things. Now that person that's on the dock, they might not be able to answer all those questions, right? But at the same time, there is an opportunity to say, hey, to ask for, someone that you can talk to. You just want to curious, you're just very curious, and I don't think there's any problem with being curious, right? I'll be honest with you, for me, anything that I've done, it's always, in terms of advancement, it's always been because I've asked a question, right? And it took me to the next step, and I asked another question, right? And it was just because I was curious. So again, when you're there on the dock, there's always a place to start. It's like Kevin said, when you make a phone call, it does not matter who answers that phone, at least the way I see it, right? Because I can't control that, right? But while I'm having that conversation, I definitely don't want to be combative with whomever I'm talking to. I don't care at what level they're at, but I look at it as that they can help me to advance, right, to the next level or the next stage or to the next person, the person that I do need to talk to. If I'm talking to someone in accounting, if I'm talking to someone in shipping, if I'm talking to someone in finance, whoever I'm talking to. So the key thing is that whoever you talk to, right, your goal is to get to the next level. You know what I mean? Is to get to whoever it is that you need to talk to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I'm going to step in, and I'm not going to let you give any more away for free.
Oh.
I mean, that's that's the entry level part there, and you go from there.
Yeah. Right.
Well, so, what happened is we start there's 3 owners, so each of us have a trucks. So we take care of the trucks, and now we're looking for trailer. But by next year, when we renew, we need to go big next year. We need to go like really high. I don't know how many, but I used to be a trainer for Werner for like 2 years. So if I want to have like at least 20 drivers in 1 year, I can even have more than that, because when I left Werner, I went to work for another company named Gold Coast, Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
Myself, I bring them like 17 drivers in like 3 months. All my students, I just bring them to them. So,
well, don't get caught up on a number though. Just focus on you, right? On doing the best that you can. If you're focused on a number, you'll lose track of the other things that you need to be doing. You're getting big for the sake of getting big doesn't really mean anything.
okay.
You might find that you're not doing as good a job as you could or should be. So grow as it makes sense.
Okay.
I don't have any numbers in mind, any growth numbers. The only number I have in mind is where's the number that I get to where I have to hire somebody to help me. That's really the only number that I care about. So more numbers does not necessarily mean more money, because you can lose control. You can lose sight of everything, lose your grip, and things will slip through your fingers, and then you're not any better off with 20 trucks as maybe you would have been with 8. Right? So grow slow and as it makes sense. That would be my only advice.
I understand that.
Yeah, and one thing I'll add to it too, one of the things definitely to be mindful of, look at your markets. Like, where are you? Are you in Illinois, or where do you guys?
I'm in Jenks, Oklahoma.
You're in Oklahoma? What part?
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Tulsa. Okay, I've had used to hang out there for a bit.
Did you say Jenks, Oklahoma?
It's almost the same place, Tulsa, Jenks.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Jenks. There's a big paper mill. There's a big paper mill in Jenks, right?
Is it Kimberly Clark?
Yeah, there's a really big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you talked to them?
Last time I went there and just I talked to the security guard. He didn't let me in, but he gave me a number. I didn't interesting about the call, because if I did go to the office at the shipping office, I will call back, because they didn't let me in. But the next time I went there to deliver a load, it was at night.
Mm-hmm.
There was really nobody there, but I'm thinking about going there on Monday, tomorrow, after I deliver a load around here.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, you guys have different. It sounds like maybe your partners are in maybe different locations, right?
Yeah, I got one in New York, one in Florida.
New York and Florida. Okay, that's where they're based out of, right?
Yeah.
So you're talking about again. Well, you're talking about different markets. You're talking about time passing. Like next year, you may want to be here, which is good to have those projections, or work to plan for that, and what have you. At the same time, in between, you want to be looking at some data. You want to be looking at data now. You want to be looking at some data from the past, and then as well look at some of these things that are going on right now that may help you to become more knowledgeable in regards to the industry itself. And my point in that is this: when you do talk to Kimberly or whomever it is, there are some things that could be of benefit to you, when you are communicating with them. It's not that you're going to tell them everything that but you have to be able to know, what to talk about, how to talk about it, right? How to go about having that conversation so that you can be a part of the opportunity, right? And then the opportunity may not come right there, right, Adam? It might not happen right there, right? Mm-hmm. But it's going to be something that's going to take time. So you want to be able to, I think the initial thing is just get your foot in the door, right? That's the key thing, is getting your foot in the door. And then there are steps to take to ultimately, maybe start moving freight for them. Because you see these companies, whether it's C.H. Robinson or whoever they are, I guarantee you it wasn't that they went to someone and then it just happened that way. You know what I mean? I mean, some of them may have had stories where, man, we were on our last leg, you know what I mean? And this is what we did, right? And then some of them, they may have had contacts, where it just, everything just kind of worked out for them, right? Everybody's story is different. But the way we look at it is, you want to get your foot in the door. How do you do that, right? How do you put your foot in the door to where that door starts to open up even more, right? And then you can start proceeding. But that experience, it's going to help you in other areas of your business and other opportunities. You see what I mean? So I definitely say, hey, what you're trying to do, hey, whether we call this a start or whatever the case is, great, and then there is more to be done, and that can be done even in the environment that we're in now. So, but yeah.
Man, this is a lot. Thank you so much.
And you're looking for equipment, you're looking for drivers. Apply the same techniques to that.
Right.
You'd be surprised how far it can take you.
Okay.
Like it's so important. It just sounds cliche, so I hate to keep repeating it, but the relationships are important.
Yeah.
You will, if you find a trailer dealer in your area, or maybe pick 3 trailer dealers in the state of Oklahoma, and just start calling them once a week. Say, hey, I'm just checking in. I'm checking in, see what's happening. See if you got any trades coming in. There's going to come a turning point where they're going to call you, right? You're building contact, and they know by now you're a serious buyer if you're that persistent. And they might say, hey, I just had one come in. It's a steal. I'm calling you before we even put it on the lot.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. These things will happen. I'm not making it out to be easy. Like, this is not easy, but it can be done, and it is worth it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're talking from experience too.
Yeah.
So,
All right. So thank you so much, guys. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, thanks for the great questions. We appreciate it.
all right, thank you.
Anyway, thank you.
Take it
Bye-bye.
easy. Well, that was some more good questions. Anybody
Yeah.
else has any? I'll just post the link again. Jackknife TV. You always got some good questions. Come on with it, man.
Yeah. I tell you. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you tell me.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, he says Oklahoma down there, Tulsa, man. I was there plenty, multiple years ago. But let me think. So Oklahoma, from there, I went to Topeka, Kansas. I think it was from. No. I think it was Topeka, Kansas to Tulsa. That's right. But in Kansas, it was where I was working with some guys, and that's when I got involved in the music business. And there was a banker, a small time banker out that way. And I would go to visit him, and then when there was a loan that existed, I would go down there and make a payment. I would just sit with him in his office and we would just talk, we would just chat. We built up this relationship, right? And then it got to a point where, we paid it off, and then we would go in and he would ask me, and I'm just talking with him, and he's like, okay, what do you need, Paul? Okay. And then it's like, well, we want to do this and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, just go down there to whatever her name is, Jane, at the end, the teller, and, she'll take care of you. And wow, okay. But that goes to the point that you're talking about as far as building up relationships. It's so important in many aspects of your business and even in our personal lives, so, but yeah, so I just wanted to address that.
Yeah, no, it's the difference. That's the missing. It's the part that's missing from most business plans, however you want to put it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, but
yeah.
So what were we talking about before we were talking? Oh, February freight, and just how ridiculous contract freight. Where did we leave off? So, the next few months.
Yeah.
We were looking at outbound tender rejections.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't looked at any of that in a while. It's been some time.
Yeah.
Just the reality is, it don't matter. We're just busy. I mean, but I haven't looked forward. What are the forward-looking numbers looking like?
Yeah, I mean, right now, we're at, again, record levels in regards to volume, in regards to the rejection rate. It's around 19. I don't know if it dropped to 18. I can't remember, but maybe it's around 19, which had been hovering. We were at a high at 24, 25 some months back, but we've been hovering around that 20 mark for quite a while, but that is still extremely high during this time period, right? And then for February, and we're halfway through February, one of the things I do want to point out is we're at February. Wow, I was thinking 15th. We're at the 20th. Wow. So we're almost 2 months already into 2022, right? Yeah. And what you might think about is that every time we come to a new year, we have different thoughts, right? We're thinking that this is going to be a different type of year, right? Well, in reality, it's just a continuation of time, right? And as far as that goes, we get into 2022, and it is going to be, for the way we see it, all the way through June, the volume is still going to be there, right? And it's not going to be where capacity is caught up yet to where it's going to be able to clear out all this demand, right? There may be where we get closer in this respect. We have consumers don't have as much savings, right, as they used to. We use that during the holiday season. We spent that prior to the holiday season. There's not much, stimulus money that is coming in to allow us to spend more money. So there is that situation. And this is something we talked about months ago. Getting into this year, are people going to, go and get jobs, and fill these positions? Hopefully so. And if that happens, then they're going to be looking, consumers are going to be looking to put money back into their savings account. But in terms of who's going to be buying, or what is going to be the reason for all this freight demand, there are businesses that need to replenish still, right? So that's kind of going to carry us through. And that's kind of reason I say through the middle of this year, you know, we could see where businesses are trying to load up on inventory. And then you're going to have the second half, right? You're going to have the second half where we're thinking about the end of the year. We're thinking about the peak season, right? So there's going to be, come after July, you know, what is that going to look like? Are we going to start putting out sales early, you know, for consumers to hit us, to take up, help us during the peak season at the end of the year? So the way I look at it is, right now, as a carrier, you're going to make money. You can make money. There's money out there to be made. The only thing you need to be looking at is, how do I set myself up for the rest of the year? And then how do I set myself up for next year? That's just, you know, that's where that's what I see, is how do I set myself up, you know, down the road? A lot of people are about just a month out, or just about a week out, or thinking about tomorrow. We're thinking way down the road. You know what I mean? Because right now is an opportunity to set yourself up for that. You know?
I think we can expect more of the same. You know, we're a little better than halfway through the first quarter, which is traditionally a slow time.
Right.
It's still busy, but you know, even if it does slow down, by the time it slows down, it's about time to ramp up again here at the end of March.
Right.
And nothing has changed. I think they've recognized capacity is not going to get better anytime soon.
Yeah.
In fact, it gets a little worse, honestly. You know, you lose trucks through attrition, accidents, breakdowns.
That's true.
Not a lot coming into the market. Trailers are still a problem. They cannot fix. They're trying desperately to bring more drivers into the market. They can't. You know, they have this 18-year-old thing now. Why do they think that's going to solve anything? 18-year-olds don't want to do this job either. Like, honestly, no, they don't want to. They don't want to do the job either. So, any of the solutions that people are providing, just they're not great solutions. It's not going to change anything. So you have that. Now we have we have some things this year, right now, that we didn't have last year, like obviously this Russian thing going on. That's cause for concern. You know, the last year at this time, we didn't have this kind of inflation. I think that's the primary thing on everybody's mind right now is the Russia thing and inflation. And you can include fuel prices in this inflation thing. Hey, these fuel prices are going to get scary. I have a feeling.
They can. They could.
Whatever you can do to position yourself, start doing it now. Be ahead of the curve. That's all you can do. Like, you can't control it. You guys just react to it. So why not start ahead of time if there's something you can do? I think those are the things on our minds as truckers right now.
Okay.
And you know, last year we had some things that we don't have this year. Like, we were just reopening the economy. Weren't sure if it was going to stay open, this and that. Well, we don't have that this year, right?
Right.
A lot of similarities, a few differences. But the fact remains, there's a shortage of trucks, shortage of trailers. That's favorable to us.
Yeah. I mean, when you talk about, let's say, the Ukraine-Russian thing, I mean, it could help it hurt in regards to, I mean, I guess Russia, what do? They supply Europe with natural gas, right? And with that, I mean, if that some kind of way gets cut off, then they've got to look for some other source, which could be the U.S., and looking at oil, you know, being what they would use. And then all of a sudden, you know, there's an increase in production, and then all of a sudden the prices raise here, right?
Yeah.
So it definitely becomes a concern in that respect. And so when you talk about inflation, and then you're adding that to it, right? I mean, and it makes a difference. I mean, even me personally, I had gone grocery shopping just about a week ago, and I could not believe the increase. I mean, you know, sometimes there's an increase, right? And you don't normally notice it. It's not that big a deal, right? but it was a big difference. And at that point, it was like, I don't necessarily see it getting better anytime soon, you know. And you see there are some items that are not on the shelf, and then I wonder, and I have to ask them too, hey, do you guys not have enough workers? No, we didn't get a truck today. Whoa, really?
Yeah.
You know, and these are essential items, you know, that are missing.
So, look at the lag time. Okay, I think last summer when you and I were talking, I think we started talking about this. The higher freight rates and the things that were going on would lead to inflation at the grocery store. And people wouldn't care until they started to see that. So we were talking about that last summer.
Right.
And I don't want to say it's just hitting now. It's been hitting for a while. But it's now getting to the point where you're seeing it. Everybody, okay. So you had what, an 8-month lag time there? So now with the kind of inflation we're seeing right now going on, what do prices look like 8 months from now? You know, that's the scary part. It won't. I don't think it'll take 8 months, but hey, you know, just and with oil, they could not disrupt. They could leave this oil supply alone, and it still skyrockets because they're messing with the dollar at that point.
Yeah, right.
They love to mess with the dollar. So
yeah.
But
well, I mean, and to your point, I mean, even like, okay, so we're talking about it now. If we were to go back last year, right, and whatever we were talking about at that time, and if we knew then what we know today, right, the question is, would we have done anything differently, you know, as an individual, for our business and what have you? My question is, if I have that crystal ball, right, what would I have done differently? Would I have done anything differently? And the question, and if the answer is yes, then take a look at today, right? And there are a lot of things that we can look at and a lot of experience that we've had, and we're able to say, okay, this is what could happen, and this is realistic. These are some things that can happen. So what kind of decisions should I make today for my business? You know, because again, even if I make some of these decisions, it's not going to hurt your business, I feel. I think that it would help your business, you know, depending upon the decisions you make. But I think we need to realistically look at what's going on today, where we're at now, and then where could we possibly be in the next 6 months? You know, where could we be in the next 12 months, if you want to go that far out? Yeah. I know we don't have a crystal ball, but we can look back and see what has happened today based upon what we were talking about then.
It's interesting, you know, they say history doesn't necessarily always repeat itself, but it does often rhyme. So I see kind of thing, we have a unique way to look at things right now. Like very rarely do you get the benefit of hindsight in life or in anything. Yeah. And it's almost like right now we can look back into the last year.
Yeah.
And with hindsight, make the decision of what would have changed last year, make that decision now and be better off for the upcoming years, because it's almost like it's the same, right? It's very similar to what happened last year. It's just more of it. So that benefit of hindsight is all you can really ask for.
Yeah.
It's the best thing you can ask for. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. I don't even know if that makes any sense, but
no, it does. I mean, you're talking about even taking, I mean, just make it real simple, taking data, right? And looking at taking it a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And we're talking about during a time period where, you know, we had to deal with a black swan, right? And how it has impacted us. And I remember a year or two ago, it was like, okay, we don't know what the future is going to bring. For me, I'm not going to say I was able to predict the future, but I was able to say, oh, wait a minute. I mean, there's a lot of history that, you know, we can go back on and see different things that have happened and how it impacted people. And from this more the standpoint of human nature, right? And that doesn't seem to change much, right? You know, if you give, why would the government give stimulus money, right? They want people to spend it. Okay, how do they know that people are going to spend it? They just go back and look. Okay, human nature is what we do, right?
Right.
So, you know, so we don't have to go back that far and dig too deep to try and maybe even, and we have, like you say, a year or two under our belt of all this, and we can look at it and then look at how, you know, where we may be in the next 6 months based upon, you know, these past couple of years. Now, with that said, we may not have to deal with, you know, this virus that's been going on like we have had to in the past, right? It's not for what we know, you know, it's not as bad as it was before. It's still out there, but it is not. Masks are coming off. Let me put it that way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And, people are out and about, and people are doing their thing, and on and so forth. Is that the best way to go about it? I don't know. But all I know is that it does seem to be different than a year ago, right? Or even a few months ago. So
the more things change, the more they stay the same. So you could look back. You could look back to last year and say, okay, we had the pandemic to deal with. We had this. We had that. And then you look at this year and say, okay, that's tapering. That's going away. But now we have this thing.
Oh, yeah.
And the outcome is very similar. So if I go back to what I wish I would have done last year, right, and do it now,
right.
I think that's a fair way to look at it.
Yeah. I mean, and the key thing, in my opinion, is like, you know, here's the thing. If somebody gives you $1,000, right? Wow, this is great. You know, either I can put it in the bank or I'll spend it, right? Or I can invest it, right? And investing, and it can be in various ways, right? I can invest it in self. You know what I mean? I can invest it in my company. I can, you know, technology wise, right? I mean, think about it. I mean, over the past couple of years, there's been such a huge advancement in technology in our industry and elsewhere, right? E-commerce has exploded, right? So with that, I'm making better money. Why don't I take this to better my company for tomorrow? You know what I'm saying? What are some of those things that make sense to help me advance, you know, advance my company? You know, so those are some things to look at, or a way to look at it. I'm making money, but how do I put this thing back into my company so that it can grow, if that's what you want, you know, and so that it has life beyond what's going on right now. Yeah,
that's great. We got some questions here, some statements here. Calvin Leak, man, if you're not driving and you want to come in here, like you're the person that should be, you're the kind of person that should be talking to Paul. So Calvin has taken a similar path to me. Calvin built a fleet inside of a carrier, much like the other guy did, and now he's kind of stepped out on his own, and he's doing it. It just kind of seems like a natural thing here. So Calvin, if you want to come in, I dropped the link here. Just click on it. Come on in. Just, all I ask is you're not driving. That's all I ask. Okay, Jackknife TV says, here I have a question. If we secure a contract through a direct customer, will this contract be through Paul's company or will it be through our own? That's a good question. So go ahead and speak on that.
Yeah, that would be through your company. So it would be direct. So when we say direct, we're talking about with your company as an asset-based company with that shipper directly.
Yeah, so you're not part of the contract. You're more or less a mediator to facilitate the meeting and the offer advice.
Yeah, we can operate it from the standpoint of basically being that sales team for you, right? There may be shippers that you would like us to reach out to. We can do that as well. There is, in regards to the sales program, the reason I bring that up is because I think that's just so vital, because when you ask that question, then my question becomes, okay, what's next? You know what I mean? So even if we hook you up, we want to get you involved, have that conversation, but the idea is for you to carry on that relationship, right? To develop that relationship and grow that relationship, because that's going to be your client, right? And that's part of what we work to develop or teach you in regards to the sales training program.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if we'll have the answer for this specifically, but Andrew says, where do you see the highest volumes, the load to truck ratio for step deck? Off the top of my head, I don't know. We'd have to look at DAT information for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going to be probably still your port cities like Houston, or your steel cities, you know, Chicago, anywhere there's a port, probably. Am I guessing right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but I would say even, you know, depending upon the time of year, you know, I mean, there may be more volume in the southern part, you know, where it's a little warmer, you know, but yeah, I don't have the definite answer for that.
Yeah. So Benny has a question here. We had a long conversation. We did an online meeting here, talked to him. Great guy. He says, interestingly enough, what he does is he buys and sells cars personally. So he's kind of a wheeler and dealer that way. And then he also has a brokerage where he's in charge of transportation of cars. So he has a unique perspective on that market. He really enjoyed that conversation. He says, interestingly enough, on supply, cars and shipping of cars seems to be down, but available carriers are also down. You would think prices would come down, but they've only gone up since December and January. And yeah, I would expect more of the same. The supply demand chain is disrupted, and especially I would think. Now, do you think the niche markets will be affected more than just the general freight? I hadn't really considered that at all.
Well, I mean,
car
when you say
hauling. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. Well, when you talk about cars, right? I've got a buddy who's he's in the car business, and but when you're talking about cars, and I saw the question there, are we talking about, because we know that new cars are down, right? In regards, is that what we're talking about? Are we talking about like new cars? Is he just talking about used cars, or what is he talking about?
He does, if I remember right, mostly used cars, but we'll dabble in the new. He told me some interesting things about the car business, like the dealer, the whole structure of dealer networks versus distributors, and what the manufacturers are doing. Like, I don't know if it's supposed to be out, but like these manufacturers are trying to take back control of like dealers and force it back into a distributorship model, where they dictate to a deal everything that dealer does. Yeah. And if you don't comply, they don't care if a dealer makes money anymore or not selling cars. They don't care. They care about is you follow their mandates. And if you don't, they yank your dealer license like at the drop of a hat, from this, what I gather here. And it's happening. You know, they let you make your money through service and you know, warranty work, but they're trying to change the way the car sales and networks in this country run, and it's kind of upsetting, but
that takes revenue from the dealerships. Is that what's happening? Yeah. Okay.
I mean, if they tell you you have to sell a car at a loss, you have to sell a car at a loss.
Okay.
And you know, you don't follow them, that's a strike against you. And apparently, if you get a couple strikes, you're in big trouble with that manufacturer.
There's no credit for that or anything. Huh?
Dealer incentives is you follow. If you lose, you lose.
Yeah, it's and the reason I say it's interesting is because I think my questioning for my friend who's in the car business, I think it went down that same line, just trying to really understand how the money works. You know what I mean? But on the surface, which I'd love to talk. What's his name? Who's the gentleman?
Benny, if you feel like, if you're not up to anything and you feel like you want to stop in, here's the link. Just click on it.
Yeah,
you're welcome here.
I'd definitely be interested in talking to Benny. As far as that goes, you know, there's a lot of the car business. There's a high demand for cars, right? Used car market is just skyrocketed, and new cars, you know, there hasn't been a lot produced because of, you know, the shortage, semiconductor chips and what have you. So as far as that goes, you're talking about supply and demand again, right? So you know, a lower supply, then you know, definitely you're going to have a higher demand, and then you're going to have higher prices as well. I mean, they're talking about, the sticker price. People are paying over sticker, for vehicles, is what I've been hearing. And then as far as equipment, we already know that there's a shortage on equipment. I mean, you've got the industrial market, where when we're talking about more of like your flatbed, step decks and things like that, there's a lot of that has surged in regards to the need for that type of equipment. So in regards to moving that type of freight, you are talking about car haulers. I don't get into car haulers much, so I don't know too much about that, but it would just seem to me, again, it's a supply demand thing, right?
Yeah.
Where there's cars, there's a shortage on cars in regards to the demand, what consumers are demanding. And then you have maybe a shortage on equipment because there is a high demand for equipment, these days. So, so I don't know. Then the price goes up on everything once again.
It's a tough business. That car hauling is, damages are a thing. People lying about damages. I mean, and it's expensive. So
yeah,
it was very, very informative to talk to him. We had a great conversation.
Yeah, I bet it was. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Rich Taco wants to know, can truck and trailer manufacturers tell their dealers the same about price control? I don't know. Tell you the truth, it would be the answer. The government seems to care a great deal about the automakers. They don't really give as much a hoot about Freightliner and Peterbilt and all those, but they love their automakers. So I don't know. Well, what did we miss? We were talking about some interesting stuff.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of stuff, I think there's a lot of right now. Even let me ask you this, okay? For you right now, just looking at this first part of the year, right? How does it, if you can, are you able to tell us how it feels just based upon this year compared to a year ago? If you can kind of remember specifically 2021.
I feel a little more confident.
Okay.
I guess that comes from having information. If you even go back a couple months, maybe December, I wasn't feeling all that great about it. But I feel a little more confident about it now. But this fuel situation and the inflation situation it's got my full attention, because you follow it down, it's natural progression of thought with this inflation, and obviously it'll keep freight rates high, it'll do this, it'll do that, but at a certain point, if people can't afford things,
right,
they stop buying. And then that's less to ship. I mean, it's a rocky road, and then if we have some kind of war on top of it, I mean, it's like almost like a perfect storm. But there's always something, there's always something.
Yeah.
But that's what's on my mind.
Yeah. Well, I definitely think, like, again, going back to supply and demand, I mean, there's in regards to the consumer, it just seems like there's going to be at some point less of a demand by the consumer. When, I'm not sure, but it seems like that will come around at some point in time. I mean, you've got interest rates, right? Interest rates are supposed to be kicking up again, and that is supposed to help, calm down the economy, right? And we're really talking about the consumer. We're talking about in terms of equipment or capacity, there's been a little bit of capacity that's come online, so that's going to be a slow trickle, right? So it's just going to be a thing. Sometimes some things can sneak up on you, right? And next thing you know, it's like, whoa, what happened, here? But I mean, if you kind of just understand some things and kind of follow it as we go along, you'll start to see these little incremental changes, right? And they end up making a difference, right? And eventually things won't look the same as they did 6 months ago. And so it's, it's always key to just continually, be in the know. It's not a thing of where you have to be paranoid, right? Because the thing about it is that things change all the time, right? And that's okay. But again, just having a business or just being in business, period, you always want to try to figure out how to stay in the know, right?
Yeah.
And then look forward and make those decisions. So
all we have is information right now.
Yeah.
We don't have anything else. So you can wait for the information to come to you and react, or you can seek it out, try to be early in the curve and be proactive.
Yeah.
It's kind of your only options right now. We need the consumer to keep spending. If we take away their ability to do that by raising taxes or raising interest rates, or inflation, that's not going to be good for anybody. Just it's hard as a trucker. We're finally getting the kind of money that we've all thought we've deserved all these years, right? But now, we've said it for a long time. It's great for us, but it's not good for an economy. If you're standing back and being 100% honest about everything, it's not good for an economy to have runaway costs and such like that. It's great for us because we got more money to spend, right?
Yeah.
But now things are catching up. Shop rates are, getting $200 an hour. Like fuel prices, equipment prices.
Yeah.
So inflation's always fun in the beginning because everybody has money.
Right.
But once that lag catches up, it's what do they say? It's the cruelest tax of all.
Well, it's coming around, so
Yeah.
And but I think everything will work out. I just would really love to see people keep that forward mindset, and make some decisions based upon that, and business
still has to get done.
Yeah. Right.
Like, we are still necessary. Will things will change in transportation. You're going to have some level of autonomy coming over the next several years. Things will transition there.
Yeah.
You're going to have more electric vehicles than diesel vehicles. It's just they're setting these policies. It's going to happen. When, where, and how, who knows? But the freight will still get moved. Everybody thinks only the mega carriers will be left. I don't know. Like, service has to happen, right?
Yeah.
And like, they're dropping the ball. They're having a hard time hiring too. If people decide they've had enough of that and they can't hire drivers, that's not good for them either.
Yeah.
So, the opportunity is still good for us. Once you kind of change the way you see things, you'll see opportunity everywhere.
Absolutely.
Here's the car hauler expert. Man of the hour.
Yeah, I'm on my tablet. I don't know if this is working or not.
Yep, we hear you perfect.
Okay. Yeah, appreciate you, guys talking tonight. I listened a little bit. Good. How are you, man?
I'm good. Are you working, or are you?
No,
I hear you have two jobs there. I
like to tell myself that. No, I'm. Sunday is kind of the day off.
Sure.
With a name like Benedetto, go figure. Maybe just a touch Catholic. But no, I've been watching you guys talk about this, and you're right in a lot of things. I think I have a little bit of a unique industry about cars, and it's very similar to what you guys are talking about, but it's also it's breaking in a different way.
Okay.
That's what we want to know about.
This isn't something I'm super versed on what a carrier is required for, but I actually sent Adam a safety report for one guy a couple days ago, or an inspection log rather. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I replied to you. Said he looks like he's going to be getting a visit very soon.
Yeah, so there's a lot of these guys who I've been talking to them, and they're ending up in a situation where they literally just can't find affordable insurance. They've killed their motor carrier number essentially, and they just can't stay in the game. And the car market is, in my experience, the Midwest, uniquely different than probably any other freight market in that it mostly went to hotshot trucking. It went to 3,500, 4,500, 5,500, 3 to 4 car trailers in probably 2 years. You know, COVID hit, and you had this big disruption of sort of the, you know, mega carriers, the guys with the 7, 8, 9 car, you know, Stingers, where they'd pick up at one dealer or 2 dealers, and they'd run everything to auction, and they'd pick up at auction and run everything to a dealer or 2. And that market has changed to where now it's very unique, almost to the airline industry, where it's point to point. It's 5 or 6 pickups, 5 or 6 drops. The auction may be somewhere in there, but that's changing. You know, so I almost wonder in your guys' space, which I'm interested in getting into, some of which the reason I watched this tonight was, you know, is there going to be some unique disruption that's very similar in your guys' industry? Because it's taking carriers out, because the big guys can't compete. You can't pick up 7 cars and drop at 7 locations. It takes you too long to shift everything. You know, so I'm curious if you're going to have that same disruption.
Yeah. In your industry, is it like when you talk about these drops, as we know, there's been the shortage, right? Are you talking about new cars? You're talking about used cars?
Combination of both.
Combination. Okay.
Go ahead.
And I'm sorry, no, would that be the reason for the multiple drops? Because, you know, there's shortage of.
So, you know, most of this stuff you're going to find on load boards, which is mostly what I'm discussing right now.
Okay.
That's going to be secondary product. So second handover, pre-owned, you know, company car going to an auction, whatever. That's the market that's getting mostly disrupted. New car, of course, you had production issues. Go figure, when you put all your factories in Southeast Asia, it doesn't work that well when things close down. But you know, that problem will work itself out. There's other problems in that world. I actually talked to Adam about that a little bit. They're really cutting their expected cost over there. But the secondary market is where you're seeing the big problem. And that's slowing. That's kind of the bubble waiting to pop, in my opinion, is you know, car sales is really down over the last probably 4 months. And a lot of it is that you're seeing people getting tapped out, whether it's cost of products, the ability to get credit. You're starting to see people really get squeezed there because there's not enough money to go around now. All that stimulus, all the PPP, EIDL, whatever you want to call it, has already worked its way through the system. You know, now it's people who have to buy product for more expensive, like you said, above sticker, or at sticker. You know, they're paying more for cars than they ever were before, and then on the secondary market, those are inflated to match new car prices. Right. So you have no affordable product anymore, and it's taking buyers in a large number out of the market. I imagine very similar to semis. You know, things are twice the cost they were before, and the ability to get capital is probably that much slimmer.
Yeah, at ridiculous interest rates.
Yeah, I heard you say like 30%.
Can you talk at all about what's going on with the dealer networks and the franchising and stuff like that, or is that not public knowledge?
That's fine. That's not an issue. So you were close to what I said.
Yeah, I screwed it all up.
Don't worry, I talk a lot, so it's okay. I probably threw a couple loops in there. So you have kind of a unique issue, right? And this is, I guess, like any industry. You know, you had sort of this balance of power where in the United States and Canada and even Mexico, or I guess we'll call it even just the Americas, you will have a traditional franchise agreement with a dealership or a dealership network. So if you're a Volvo store, if you're a Jeep store, if you're a Ford store, if you're insert whatever brand, whatever product you sell, you have a franchise agreement. Obviously, you have some power through that. Maybe area of exclusion. How much product you're guaranteed per year. Whatever. That's not the case in other parts of the world. In Europe, in Africa, in Asia, most of these companies have a distributor model because they found a way to build that through whatever means. and a distributor has no power. You're given product. You are to sell the product, and you probably never really own it. You know, it's probably on a floor plan, which is essentially a line of credit. You're probably in some sort of credit situation where maybe you own that, but you're not really going to capitalize off it. You're servicing the manufacturer. Really. You don't own the customers. You don't control the customers. In America, very different, right? You know, your dealership on your corner is owned by somebody. You know, they have a family, they have friends, maybe they own another store, maybe they own some real estate, whatever. That's changing. Now the car manufacturers are in a position where they have more power than ever before. They hold the keys to the castle because inventory is very slim, and they can turn it on and off in a minute. And, you know, there's some agreements. They're not supposed to, but that doesn't mean they are. You know, a lot of them are using things, they use buzzwords, right? You know, you probably have similar things in the trucking world, but secondary allocation is the new word of the day. You know, primary allocation, they'll give you a number. That's how many cars you're going to get built from the factory. You know, there's some sort of formula or algorithm of how you get more or less. You sell more product over a 30-day, 60-day window, you get more cars, you sell less, you get less cars, right? Secondary allocation is just how they decide to do it. And, you know, they can just decide that X store deserves this many cars and Y store deserves this many, and they sort of build it from there. Since that's become a thing, which has been about a year, and secondary was a thing before too, I should say, but it's more of a control thing now. Since that's become a thing, you have a lot of manufacturers now trying to play dealer, where they'll decide that, well, we want to sell things online where you don't really own the product anymore. We just sort of front it to you. And we're only going to give them to you if you agree to do it this way. So a unique example is Volvo, right?
Okay.
Chinese-owned company, you know, supposedly European, but they're Chinese-owned to the core. They will have a new model come out. They have a new XC90 coming out, and they're going to try to sell it exclusively online. Now, the product will be at your store. It will exist at your dealership. But if you want to buy that product, you have to do it through their portal at their number. And the dealer pretty much has to sell you the car. And they get to determine what that number is. And that's not just a Volvo thing. That's everybody. You know, Google manufacturer and online sales, and they've all got their own system for it now. That's becoming more of a thing now than before. And it's that balance of power, right? It's that we hold the keys to the castle. We're short of cars now, so we can decide what you're getting, and that seems to be the name of the game now.
Okay. Is that coming about because of the shortage of vehicles that are being put out on the lots? Is that their way of controlling, since there's not much inventory that does go out on these lots?
Yes, but I think this is probably the goal for a lot of them over a period of time anyways. Okay. I think COVID has just been a great, you know, sort of force multiplier for them. Yeah. Okay. They've found the ability through this to sort of leverage their lack of cars, you know. And if you, like I said, if you're a dealership and you want to sell, you know, if you want 100 cars today on the ground, you know, and you only have 25, you're not really in a position to argue with them. Right. You know, you can't go to factory B, get that product.
You're at their mercy at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And so then would that be, can you see beyond as we evolve and come into a situation of the new norm, right? Where we're not having to deal with this pandemic. Are you seeing it working this angle and remaining? Is that what you're saying? Is that this will become the new norm? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, so that's the plan.
That's the plan. Okay.
And some version of that. It might not be exactly how I'm saying it.
I gotcha.
You know, some of these companies are a little more fair than others. Yeah. To be frank, actually, to step back for a second, yeah. I actually think Volvo has been one of the more fair manufacturers in this. Okay. If you look at like let's pick you know, what used to be an everyday American product, a Jeep, right? Yeah. You know, now it's French, Italian, Chinese owned. Yeah. But If you look at the new hybrid Wrangler they've built, the 4xe they call them,
Mm-hmm.
they've raised the price on that thing like 5 times in the last 12 months. It's like $9,000.
What? And people are paying the money, right?
Oh, yeah, they absolutely are, because there's a $7,500 federal rebate on that product.
Okay.
But you now in a position, it's funny, I joke with some friends in my world about it. You can go get an X5 for cheaper than a Jeep Wrangler today.
Mm.
It just doesn't make sense.
Mm.
But you can do it. You can find an electric X5 for cheaper than an electric Wrangler.
Mm.
Different markets, different customer, obviously they don't overlap, but if you're someone that, I think like most people who are just shopping with their dollars, they're looking for, what's most effective for money spent.
Yeah.
That's going to become really hard.
Yeah.
These things are getting significantly more expensive.
Yeah.
And as it's funny, people have always complained about the dealer markets and they're stealing from us, and
Mm-hmm.
and they have their ways of making profit, and some are great and some are morally questionable.
Yeah.
But as we go to online sales, you're going to lose even that little bit of control as a consumer, because it's like buying an iPhone now. You have a price and that's it, and there's no way around it.
So is this more of the Tesla model with distributorship, or more of the Carvana model with totally online, or is it somewhere in between?
2 parts there. So it's definitely the Tesla model. Tesla's proven to everybody and their sister that you can sell cars that way. The second part is actually a little inside of my world. Carvana is all but bankrupt today. A lot of those online sort of retailers, they're tapped. They over leverage themselves during this pandemic. Carvana really doesn't sell cars; they sell credit. They do it through an industry called, a company in the auto industry called DriveTime. It's a pre-owned product store. They actually sort of funnel a lot of their stuff over there. They're out of money. They're essentially a Ponzi scheme at this point. Ooh. They're just taking money in to sort of fulfill their obligations. At some point, that's gonna end, and it's gonna be ugly. Which my industry is probably great, because car sales will go back to normal, because we'll get how many tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of cars just hit the used car market. But
so we have all kinds of bad credit waiting to hit the market, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but that's always the case. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're a middle of the road, FICO, a 6 something, and you have good income, you could always get a car. That's so much more true now than ever before. The problem is that it's also 30-40% more expensive. Okay. Yeah. And the market won't maintain that. People that are buying cars today, they'll buy something for, as you said, sticker or over. In a year, when things kind of resolve or at least work down a little bit, you're going to go back to that same, your car's worth 30% less.
Right. That's just like the housing market.
But it's going to be 30% of the big number now.
Yeah. Okay.
You're going to say about housing.
No. I was just saying all I was saying was that it's reminiscent of the housing market in my mind, where, you have these inflated, the inflated price of houses, right? And then you have people selling, making a lot of money off of it. And then they're going to go look for a house. And then they're like, oh, wait a minute. I didn't make enough money off the sale of my house, because now I've got to buy a house and it costs more, but at the same time, you have a situation where at some point, these overinflated houses in terms of pricing, it's just going to come around and, bite everyone, I think, in certain.
You're right.
It sounds like we are surrounded by bubbles on all sides right now.
Yeah. I mean,
like from every direction, like credit. I mean, is that even getting the notoriety it deserves? Another credit bubble? We all know there's a housing bubble. Is there a trucking bubble right now? I always make a statement back when in the housing bubble, 2008 or whatever. You knew it was a housing bubble because you'd see people buying houses over the phone, sight unseen, and flipping them for $40,000 in 3 days.
They're doing that.
Well, now you have people that last week they were a school teacher or working in the cafeteria, getting their own authority, jumping in a truck with no experience just because they heard there's money in trucking. Is that a similar thing? I mean, honestly, if you're looking at it honestly, see a lot of that happening. I get the emails. Trust me, I get the emails.
I was going to say I get requests every day from new entrants. We'll call them within a 12-month period. And I mean, some of the things these guys get pulled over for on inspections or fail inspections for. I mean, there was a guy I saw yesterday. He had his authority for 5 months, and he'd gotten hit 4 times, all out of service. And 2 of them were tire. He obviously had to use a tire or pre-owned tire on the truck, and it was below threshold back in like October. And they popped them on like the 2nd or 3rd for it just being bald. Like the same truck, same plate, obviously. So just didn't care.
Okay, we're busted here. So now all 3 of us got some splaining to do. Nick Ola says, I don't get you guys. You say it's going to be the same year, but now you say cars and houses will lose on value. So we were just saying how good it was going to be this year, so now we're saying how bad everything is. So we got some explaining to do. Nick, I think, well, I'll go from my perspective first. I think what we're trying to explain is there's a lot of opportunity out there if you do it smartly. Like if you take control, handle your business, manage your business, seek out opportunities, and make smart decisions. Don't go buying a $100,000 new dry van, right? Stick with the equipment you got and take care of it. Seek out better and more freight opportunities. And I think it's going to be a good year for you. Now, if fuel prices do go to $10 a gallon, if we do go to war with Russia, those are things you cannot control.
Sure, right.
Right? We cannot control the car market, the housing market, completely out of our control. And those are unforeseens. So, we're just exploring both sides of it. And is there anything either one of you would want to add to that?
Yeah. Did you want to go ahead, Benny? You want to...
Well, here's what I want to go back and touch on what you said about a bubble really fast. I mean, the economy, the idea of an economy is a bubble, right? Economy is an extension of credit. The U.S. economy more so than most other places. There's always going to be, inflation and deflation in some sector. People get really afraid of that word bubble, and they, they have that reaction like it's going to be 2008 all over again.
Right.
That was really unique. If you've never done any reading, and you're very scared of that, I'd encourage, I forget the name of the book right now. I'll find it in a minute, but I would go back and read about what that really was, because that was so much more so than a recession.
Right.
It was largely a financial reorganization of our economy.
Yes, and really what it was is it was a fundamental breakdown of how the system's designed to work.
Which has been changed.
Yeah. And it'll happen again. And I'm 32. It'll happen again in my lifetime. There'll be some other contagion that starts that fire. So I can speak a little bit uniquely, and I want to make this brief, so I don't talk my head off over here and talk both your ears off.
I'm enjoying it.
The car sales side of the business will be very bad until probably mid-year. You will see some recovery probably around summer. You will see a lot of pain right now. You're seeing it today. Yeah. There's less product available. It's harder to get the people approved on the product because the loan to value numbers are so skewed. There's going to be real challenges in that sector for now until call it Q3. On the logistics side, I am a licensed broker. I move quite a few cars. I'm making more than I ever have. It's absolutely on fire because there are less qualified people out there. I get to charge more because I find and know a lot of the quality people, and there's just less capacity for it in general. So the costs go up. That's great. So if I was going to forecast what I think this year will be better than last year. For me, on probably both sides in different ways. Yeah. But it's just setting itself up for what will ultimately be a very bad year in the next couple of years. I think that's where people are going to get stuck, and this is probably your guys' world too. If you go buy I'm going to pull some on my head, a international whatever, and it was $40,000 last December, 21, and you paid 65 for it today. That number's not when that market resets, you still have a big delta there of what you paid for it, and you got to make that payment now. Yeah. It's not worth that anymore. You paid the inflated number.
Right.
That's where people are going to get in trouble. People that go into this and think they can just jump in and they're all in and they're going to pay 28% interest and they're going to make a killing and you know, it's we're going to find out who's someone out there shorts on. You know, we're going to find out when things take a 10% dip, who was smart during this and who was not. And that's when people hear those stories, and that's when they freak out, and that's when they're concerned that, you know, it's all going to fall apart. So I think this will be a good year. Next year, probably pretty good. Into the future will be worse.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, what I'm hearing, the way I hear it is, the way I always say it is, you know, I can be looking at my hand, right, and I have it right here in front of my face, but when I pull it out, I see the whole hand, right? Right here, I don't know what I'm dealing with, but when I pull it out here, it's a hand, right? And there's so many things I can do with this thing, but when it's right here, I haven't a clue as to what's going on. And I think a lot of us are, you know, in that cloud, you know, where we see what's going on right now, right? And so for me to go out and either jump in that financial responsibility and because of what's going on right now and not looking at the bigger picture, right? And seeing what is to come, you know, what are some of these moving parts? How do they fit together and things like that, and what it's going to look like for the future, but also looking back on the past, right? And trying to understand some things so that it does help us to kind of look at the future. Then we can make better decisions, right? And so today it's key right now. I can make decisions today, but I don't want to make those emotional decisions, right? Those knee-jerk decisions. I don't want to make those decisions, you know, based upon, you know, with the hand being right in front of my face. So there are great decisions to be made right now. You know, you can make some good decisions to prepare you. So what we're saying is that one, here's the way things are right now. It is a good market. It is a good place to be. That doesn't mean, okay, jump in it and be unknowing, right? And just jump in and think you're going to make a lot of money. You know, you have to be smart about that. For those that are in it, right? They're in a good place right now. They have an opportunity to make money, but then looking down the road, as we know, they go up and they go down. You know, that's just how it goes. And so whether it's 6 months down the road, a year down the road, it's not going to look exactly the same as it does today. You know what I mean? It might not be a time to be in the market right now, but what we're doing is we're talking about some things that do exist, some things to pay attention to, right? And do your homework, you know, have fun with it. Go out, get on the internet, do your Google search, you know, learn, read the books, you know, and you'll come up with a different opinion, you know, of maybe what you should do, you know, and that's what we're saying is, hey, here's this information, and from there, you know, you can make decisions from there.
Yeah, but I would add to that, like, as with anything in life in general. So we know things are good right now. How are you going to participate in it? Do you just sit back and let it be good and then ride the cycle out? Okay, it was good, now it's bad. Or how do you participate in it right at this moment so that maybe it can stay good for you for a little bit longer, or a lot longer?
Absolutely.
Years to come.
Yeah.
Right? So unique opportunities like that right now. It's not a regular thing throughout the course of history where there's this kind of opportunity for the little guy, especially in trucking. Like the opportunity for the little guy, you would really have to scratch and claw to maybe get the kind of opportunities that are there for us right now.
Right.
How long does that window stay open? Yeah. I don't know. I wish I had a crystal ball. I don't know. So it's all what you want to do for yourself, right? And I'm not saying it's being theoretical or you know, if you didn't do this and it doesn't work out, that you failed, it was your fault. Right. Just saying, hey, have all this information, like what you guys were talking about in the future. Maybe you can see an opportunity there for right now. Maybe there's an opportunity for you to build a new business model hauling cars right now. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
You were talking about something like that, Ben. I know. So you're obviously forward thinking like that.
Yeah, well, I like to pretend item, right? You know, I sort of fell into freight brokering literally right around the start of the pandemic. You know, I shared that with you. You know, I was an end customer for a lot of the things I'm doing now. And the carrier in between was great 80% of the time. But that 20%, unresponsive, unavailable, unwilling to communicate, is what ultimately put me down the line of, can I ship my customers' cars? Can I ship cars for, you know, whether it's individuals, businesses, whatever.
Right.
And it led me down the path of yes, you can be a broker, and here's how you do it, and here's how you do it smartly. You know, there's a ton of opportunity in this market for, I imagine, any new entrant. And, you know, that's any business that has this sort of growth or this fire behind it. You know, you're always going to get new people in. It's going to be the influx. The challenge is what you guys are saying, or what you guys are saying to the people listening is, you have to do it. You know, it has to be a structured way. You can't just jump in and not have a plan and not have a structure and just hope you're going to make it, because you're going to put yourself in a situation where you can cause yourself, you know, a lot of harm. You know, a lot of these guys today, you know, are probably buying trucks at super high interest rates and leasing trailers or renting trailers at you know, ridiculous figures. And it works now because the market's on fire.
Right.
What happens in 6 months to a year? You know, 2 years. I don't have a crystal ball. I couldn't tell you when things will turn down.
Right.
But you know, it may be coming from autos. I'm a little more experienced in this. I actually got into car sales right after the recession of 08. So I remember not being able to get people approved. I remember having 300-400 cars in the ground, and you'd have 40 people come in and one get approved, and it'd be conditional. You know, they had to put 10 grand down, and they had to call their grandma to make sure they were, you know, a real person. There was so much garbage that came out of that.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of these people that are entering the industry now, they see how great it is. And, you know, they're not preparing for the future. Like you said, hand in front of the face, keeping the world small, not looking at their 5-year plan.
I'll be honest with you. YouTube is part of the culprit in that.
Yeah.
Like, people win no matter what, right? So.
Oh yeah.
It's well, it goes back to that double-edged sword thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell you, it's I'm always excited for the opportunity that does exist. You know what I mean? And again, there's plenty of opportunity that does exist, and it's just a matter of being, you know, smart. I mean, like with having you on, there is more information that you are able to provide that helps, you know, and hopefully helps, you know, people that are watching, and they hear this, and then, you know, they can do their own research or what have you. But it's always good to have this type of communication that goes on, right? There may be someone that's thinking about, man, I want to get into the trucking business. You know, this is what I've heard, and that's what I've heard. It does not hurt to hear. You want to hear the good, the bad, the ugly. You know, you want to hear those things. But then, as Steve Jobs talked about, he was like, I can't remember how he put it, but he was like, you know, the most important or impressive thing is that intellectual process of developing something. You know, you can come up with an idea, but how do you make it come to fruition, right? You have to go through the whole process, even if there is, let's say, policy in place that you have to go through, right? How do you figure out? Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was agreeing.
No, go ahead.
I was just agreeing with you. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No worries. Yeah, I mean, you know, you have to accept those things, those challenges that come up, and then work through them, right? So, but you have to realize, one, that there are going to be challenges, accept that and see them. But if it's that you're wanting to develop something of value, something that's going to be around for a while, right? Whether times are good or bad, there's going to be challenges, but you've got to be able to, you know, hear that, whether it's from Adam, from me, from you, the good, the bad, and work through it. You know, seek us out, seek others out. You know, seek out what you need to seek out to be able to grow and develop and learn. You know what I mean? Don't just because something is good, you know, I'm just going to jump on it and think that it's going to be good from here on out. You know, that's not how it works, you know, but yeah.
Yeah.
We got the smartest people that watch this, Paul. I'm telling you. We got the smartest people that watch this stuff. They're no dummies here. These people are smart.
I agree. 100%.
What I'd say is I've found Adam, obviously, through digging around and YouTube. I'm interested in getting my authority and starting a trucking business to haul some of my cars, actually. But that's actually how I figured out how to become a freight broker. You know, I think kind of going back to what we were saying initially, which is, you know, taking that risk, you know, betting on yourself and trying to get your own authority or your own business, whatever it is. You know, you're at a very unique time where information is literally at your fingertips.
Yeah.
You don't have to go read a book from the library. You don't have to find someone that's educated in the industry and hope they'll tell you. There are people like Adam and people like you. I think your name's Paul. I apologize. I don't know your name.
You got it.
Correct.
You know, there are people like you guys who have put that information out there. But unfortunately, there are also people who put out, you know, all we do is win. All we do is you know, we've never had a setback in business. It doesn't happen. You know, that's I think the unfortunate part of all the information we have today. I think many people get sucked into that and they take a risk based on that, and it's not a great, you know, it's not a great opportunity for them. So, you know, I really appreciate what you guys have put out there. Like I said, the whole reason I wanted to watch today was Adam had shared with me a lot of guys won't call, and, you know, shippers or whoever, they won't make that conversation. They won't start that process with them because they're concerned with, you know, whatever the outcome is, or they don't want to make the call, whatever. You know, as a sales guy, for me, that's probably my biggest strength. But the part I don't have is, you know, I couldn't tell you anything about trucking. I mean, I know what trucks are. I know what some trailers are. I can get technical there, but, you know, man, that's just not my world. I'm never going to be versed in that space. And, you know, that's where finding channels like this and breaking down what happens if a carrier that starts with an S hits your truck and you know, all that other information that you put out there and other people have, you know, that's the thing that I didn't understand. That's actually why I became a member was cool. There were questions I had that I couldn't figure out or I didn't know how to. And you know, I appreciate having access to both of you gentlemen for that.
Well, awesome. Hey, Ben, one last question. How much, East Texas Trucker wants to know, how much would it cost to ship a car from central Wisconsin to Dallas?
Oh, that's a good question. What is it? What kind
mid-size,
of car?
we'll just say a mid-size sedan.
That's a great question. Let's take a look. Probably like 30% over wholesale.
Really? Okay.
That's kind of the market right now is you know, that's what I said about December onward it being bad. You know, if wholesale on something was, let's say $600, you won't book it for less than $800-900 today. Mm-hmm. No one will take it.
Yeah.
And you know that before they, you know, 6 months ago, a year ago, I mean, people would fight you for, you know, 90% of that. Give me a Wisconsin zip code.
Say 54412.
Let's take a look. What's a Texas zip code?
Good question.
7 something, yeah.
Let's look up one of my shippers. What's the Wisconsin zip code again?
Did you say 54412?
Like $1,200.
Oh, right on the money. That's what he said. He was thinking right around $1,200.
Wholesale on an SUV that is operable, so not a Copart piece of junk. I don't know, $1,200, $1,300.
There you go.
Depends if they like the guy or not.
Well, we'll talk. I like him. You'll like him. We'll do some business.
Hey guys, I appreciate you guys inviting me, and I'll watch from the background.
Man, I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, have a good night.
Thanks so much. Yeah, Rory says he wouldn't be in trucking right now if it wasn't for YouTube. So.
Oh, really?
So, there you go. Man,
Wow.
I talked to that guy. He wanted a consultation one night, and usually we do an hour. I think we talked for 2.5 hours. Man, that was just fascinating. I learned. He taught me a lot too. You know, car hauling is a unique thing. It was a great conversation. Really enjoyed it. So I hope we do it again.
Yeah, I mean, the information I just got was good stuff, and I'll be honest with you, man. Every time I listen or talk to somebody, including you, I'm looking to learn something. You know what I mean? And because it's out there, you know. And a lot of times people don't know the value that they have. You know what I mean? They don't know really what they have to offer. I mean, some people may think, you know, they know everything, and that's fine. But I mean, there's people that really, you know, you can learn from. So that was good. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, me too. Boy, I mean, people like hearing from you, man. I'm telling you, we're holding a good audience. If there's anything you want to talk about.
No, there wasn't much that I, to be honest with you, I felt like I listened more than anything. Honestly, I got a lot of good stuff and hearing from everyone, and even the comments that you read, right? So I always look forward to hearing the comments. So anything that I want to say, you know, there's really not much other than, man, 2022. I know who had the comment? I don't remember, in regards to, you know, we were saying one thing and then we flipped to the other side. I don't remember who that was, but he said that we were now saying that the market's not great or something of that nature. But at any rate,
I'm guilty of, like, being honest, I'm guilty of that. Like, I go back and forth, like, but just try to get all the information out. Like, you've brought me around from being the eternal pessimist, right? Because you've proven over to me over the course of the last year that, like, sound reasoning and act on the information, just keep your emotions in check. And I've started doing that. You were right. But you can't lose sight of what's happening around you too. You can't put blinders on and not see everything that's going on, because you won't react to things that might be coming up ahead. Like, you don't drive that way, right? You're always looking for cross traffic and stop signs ahead, right?
Right.
Maybe there's something really bad ahead of you. You don't just ignore it because you're saying things are good right now. Things are good right now. I'm making good time. You still have to see what's down the road, and that's merely all we're trying to point out. And a lot of things are unknown. They're completely out of our control. Like this Russia thing, completely out of our control.
Yeah.
So, but it's not that it doesn't exist.
No, I mean, you know, it's the thing of it is this: everything exists, right? And then everything matters, right? In the sense of this, you know, we always have this cause and effect, right? So when we are within our element, whatever it is, or, you know, let's say transportation, there's a lot of things that dictate our market, right? That's why I keep saying we don't dictate things, right? We can have a strike and all these different things, but I mean, we still are dictated by, you know, the consumer is the way I look at it, to keep it simple, right? It all goes back to that. So when we start looking at that, I mean, what does the consumer deal with? I mean, the consumer deals with weather conditions, right? Deals with, there's population, right? There's education, there's, you know, overseas international affairs, there's so many different things. You know, there's the fad that's going on right now. You know, what's the popular thing? There's just so many factors that are involved. And all these factors, when you have them at play, you try to figure out, when this does this, you know, what happens over here, right? So then you start picking out, okay, what's really important to look at. So that's where it becomes interesting and fascinating for me, because, you know, I can read everything, right? And I know it all is going to have to do with something. Who knows where it's all going to lead to? But it's interesting just to know these things. Now, when I put it into trucking, right, and I start thinking about trucking, what happens for me is I start, certain things start to hit me, certain things I read, right, certain things that I was talking about, whether I was talking to you or someone else, all these things start to hit me. And then I start to formulate, my own opinion. Now, are my opinions right? Are they wrong? They can go either way, right?
Time will tell.
Time will tell. But I have to base my decisions on that. So for you, you're going to do the same thing, right? And your decision might be different from mine, and that's okay. But it's great for us to have the conversation. You see what I mean? That's what I like, because you may come from a different mixture of things that right? And I may come from a different mixture of things that I know or have read or whatever. And then once we come together, I think it makes for great conversation. That doesn't mean we have to agree, right?
Right.
But that's where I come from, and I really just enjoy, and the time that we have. I just appreciate the channel.
Nobody knows with a high degree of certainty the future, and the only evidence you need for that is that there is not a trillionaire in the world yet.
You said
right?
Yeah, right?
Yeah. This is surprising. JH says that West Coast rates are in the dump. That would kind of surprise me. I don't keep tabs on that, but do you know anything about that?
The only thing I know is that, like, West Coast one, they're really trying to, get rid of all that freight that's out there. And there are a lot of trucks that go out that way. And then, when you do have trucks that are out that way, a lot of trucks, guess what happens? Rates can go down. It's supply and demand. And then when they shift out, right? And then all of a sudden, rates do go up. So you can have that ebb and flow, in regards to that. And that can be in any industry, any part of the country. But here's my question. When we say in the dumps, what does that mean, right? Because we're at in a new environment where dumps can mean $3 a mile. You know what I'm saying? It can. So,
well, I'll look right now. I got my DAT load board open here.
Okay.
Let's just check other reefer. Let's say Los Angeles. We'll go out a ways because that's a big, Southern California is a big area.
Okay.
We'll say tomorrow, Monday.
Okay.
We'll go out 200 miles just because we want to get Oxnard. We want to get, Bakersfield, Tulare. Okay, so, let's say high. Well, I mean, you can go from California to Mass for 10,500 to Maine for 9,000, to North Carolina for 7,500. Historically, those are good rates. Oh, some of that's hazmat. Okay, let me get out of the hazmat territory here. I mean, well, wow, volume's low.
Volume
78 exact matches for tomorrow. Okay. So, well, yeah, volume. Well, now it's the weekend. A lot of people take their loads down for the weekend. So maybe not a fair representation, but yeah, I'm surprised to see volume that low.
Now, also you do have, which I don't know how much it impacts it, but you do have President's Day tomorrow. So
you're right. So let's check Tuesday. Good call there. Tuesday would be a more fair representation. Okay, the 22nd. That's my birthday. How about that?
When is?
Tuesday.
Hey, happy birthday.
Okay, so Tuesday, 84 exact matches. That's still an incredibly low volume.
How far? I mean, if you go here's what I would say. Like, I mean, these major holidays, right? You're generally going to have that drop off, and it can last for a week. I mean, a lot of holidays, it can be at the end of the year, and then you go into the first of the month, right? And then it's a low volume time period. And so it can last for like a week, and then all of a sudden it just spikes up, right?
Right.
That is a possibility. I don't know how far out.
I also know that Los Angeles, Southern California is an area that's highly affected by Chinese New Year. Let me just check here. When is Chinese New Year? Because I know that there's a lot of population out there. That Tuesday, February 1st. How long does it last though? You got the lunar. I know somebody in Chicago. They're Mongolian. They celebrate the Lunar New Year, and it lasts for weeks.
Almost, yeah. I don't know.
Oh, it's over. Ends on February 11th, so it's over.
It's over. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, you still have. I mean, here's the thing. In terms of volume, there is still. I don't know if you have access to it right now, but there's still a lot of freight that's on the water, right? So there's still there's still a lot of opportunity that does exist. But again, rate wise, because that's when you mentioned, I would be curious specifically, in regards to rates, what kind of rates are we talking about? And then if you're talking about low volume, and then you have a lot of trucks that are in the area, right? Well, obviously there's going to be more availability and capacity, and the rates are going to be lower, So, and that could be for a season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's reefer. Let me just I don't know if he's talking van. Let me just check van quick, because I don't know. That surprises me. That's a major freight area.
Yeah.
Those kinds of volumes. Okay, we got about 180 for Tuesday for van loads, and you're talking about $6,000 to go cross country, basically to South Carolina, Michigan. I mean, yeah, to Texas, 3,400. Okay, yeah, it's not great. So I'd be interested in finding out what's affecting the market down there in Southern California.
Southern California. So yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I have to look into it, but I'm thinking, it could be.
So let me say this. Let me. Okay, looking at those volumes and numbers, folks scream at me all the time. Freight rates can't go down because fuel's going up $4.50 a gallon. Blah blah blah. What more? Like, here it is right here. Freight rates have fallen in that area, and that's the most expensive fuel rate area in the country. Wow. So it can happen. Let me say this, and I don't have any evidence to back this up. Maybe you would know better. When it comes to freight rates and price of fuel, freight rates tracking price of fuel, I kind of feel like this. On the spot market, fuel prices don't figure into it. On the spot market is purely supply and demand.
Okay.
So the rates don't have to track fuel prices. Fuel can go through the roof, rates can come down. On the contract market, that's where your rates are going to track fuel, because almost all contract freight has a fuel surcharge related to it. Right. Am I off on that, or is that your experience?
Yeah, I mean, fuel, in regards to spot, fuel will definitely be taken into consideration. But I mean, when you're talking about contract, we're obviously talking about, what is it? I don't know, 6 months, right? In regards to contract. So what you're going to be quoting, it's going to be that line haul. You want to, because that fluctuation, and you can't call it, right? You can't call the fuel, what that fuel rate is going to be. So there can be where, it's going to be plus fuel, based on that. So as far as, the spot market, it's not as volatile, whether it's from day to day, you know what I mean, or week to week. And I mean, it has to have a significant adjustment in regards to fuel to have that impact. So, and then plus, you're moving stuff. You're not moving with the same company or shipper. You're not in the same area. So that fuel it's not necessarily as impactful when you're talking about contract, because if I'm going to be moving for you for 6 months, you tell me, Adam, where is fuel going to be in 6 months? Do you know?
No idea.
Okay. Or even, do you know, contract wise, do you know where it's going to be in a week or two?
There's a reasonable expectation for a week or two out. I mean,
right. You're going to play with that, right? You've got that to work with, but we just don't know. So as far as that goes,
once again, these people are smarter than us. RJ, we are also coming off manufacturing slowdown for China and the Olympics. I forgot all about that. Yep, that's
so. Yep. There was slowdown because of that, because of the Olympics.
I would imagine they
I
put a lot of resources into that. I would guess, but
yeah, I didn't even think about that. Okay,
yeah, I forgot about that. I haven't watched a single event. I don't know that I could care less about this Olympics.
Oh, I tell you what, man, it's what time are the Olympics? I mean, for us, is it? I don't know what the time difference is.
They play them during the day. I don't know.
They do? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I was going to say, if we were on the same time zone, you probably would watch it, but it sounds like you wouldn't.
Yep.
No. Okay.
Yeah. Ben, somebody was asking if you wanted to drop a website for your company or anything. You're welcome to do that. You're certainly welcome to do that. Let me just make sure you're a moderator here so that you can do that. Oh, okay. I got to log into a different account here. But yeah, that makes sense. If you pull resources away from manufacturing for the Olympics, you're going to have some slowdown. So there we go. We made Ben a moderator.
Price value is commercial.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that, about attacking the dollar and the whole Russia thing too. And yep. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, right. Here we go. RJ says China made a big deal on that for air quality over there. Yeah, they have horrible air quality. Man, they probably had to stop manufacturing for a while to get that to straighten out.
That makes sense. I mean, I tell you, you know, overseas, especially for China, their policies and what have you in regards, even like with the pandemic, right? That they have a situation, you know, an outbreak. I mean, it can be 1 or 2 people, right? And then all of a sudden, everything is shut down, right? And then that impacts us. So it definitely, I mean, right? I mean,
that's interesting. Something just popped in my head when you said that, and I wonder why there was no concern of this. Like if China really did start this, right? And hey, how the hell would I know? You know, people say, what are they going to send home with us this time? With all these Olympians coming back?
Oh,
what are they going to send home with them?
Oh, no. Well, hopefully medals.
Yeah. I'm sure there'll be
hopefully gold medals.
Toxic, heavy, fake gold, toxic heavy metals.
Oh, my God.
Might want to get that gold medal tested.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
So it's got to pass customs, right?
Yeah. And then they charge them so much tariffs and taxes on it, they can't. Most of those athletes can't afford to keep their medals. It's just tragic. Why the hell is an Olympic gold medal a taxable event? You're representing your country, right?
Right.
Get over it. Not everything needs to be taxed. That is so
stupid. Do they have to pay it? They have to pay it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yep. A lot of Olympians have to sell their medals because they can't afford to pay the tax on them.
Wow.
You know, unless they have a sponsor where they're actually making money.
Wow. I would think that, you know, they get the gold medal, somebody would pay for it.
Oh. Yeah. JH says a high of $5,800 from the Bay Area to Washington during the holidays, now barely $3,000. $2 a mile, always SoCal from the Bay. LA typically much hotter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's rough. $2 a mile is rough when you're over $5 a gallon out there. So, you know, it absolutely can happen.
Are they over $5 out there now?
Oh yeah.
It did hit that mark?
Yeah, especially in Ontario, down in Southern California. I don't know so much about the Bay, but I would just about imagine the Bay is much higher.
Okay. Wow. I think that's a record, right? I don't know if they've ever been over $5. I'm not sure, but that.
Yeah.
Right.
Hold on to your hat. I don't. Yeah.
I
don't see anybody talking about doing anything about it. That's the concerning part. I mean.
No. No. I mean, I guess the only thing that I've seen is that it could go higher.
It seems to be policy. I've heard people make the statement that inflation is good. We need more of it, and it is politically beneficial to them. Did you happen to see that video?
No, I didn't.
Oh, yeah, it was a bit ridiculous.
Yeah. Well,
but hey,
I think everyone should definitely make sure this year, if you didn't last year, take a vacation. I'm one of those that did not last year. So I want to try to make that a point and be able to take, even if it's a few days or whatever, just, you know, try to detox from all this and just try to find some time to unwind and relax however you can. Even if
I'm just saying, Wisconsin in the summertime is a great place to be.
Is it really? Okay.
Mm-hmm. You know, we could bake cookies and whatnot.
Man, I can do that anywhere. I'm good with that. Huh?
Yeah. We're gonna keep you here until we get that out of you. Keep that recipe out of you.
Well, we'll just bake the cookies. I don't know about the recipe.
You'll bake them. We'll take them to that market where we got the stuff we sent to you.
Yeah,
and you'll sell them there.
I'm all about it. Trust me.
The cookies will sell themselves, but you'll use your exceptional sales techniques to convince them to buy them.
To oversell, okay?
Yes.
I'm putting that on my calendar, my friend. Trust me, okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, it's 7:30 and I haven't had dinner. I'm hungry, so
all
right. We're gonna wrap this up. Man, I really want to thank everybody for hanging in there through all this. And if you did, we really appreciate it. You know, if you're looking for something like this, just give Paul a call and have the conversation. Or when you're ready, you know, if you say, oh, maybe a couple months, hey, whenever you're ready. Thanks for everybody that came in and shared their experience, and for all the people after that dropping the good information. Thank you everybody for the super chats. I really appreciate that. And we got the best community and the best audience, I think, in all of YouTube trucking. I think definitely the smartest ones. I think they proved that over and over again. You know, they even teach us things, remind us of things like the Olympics thing. I forgot all about that. So
thanks, RJ.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to hang in here for just a minute, Paul, everybody else, appreciate it if you hit that thumbs up button on the way out. And we will do this again. We're going to make this a monthly thing. If there's any certain topic you want covered, because Paul is well versed in a lot of different things, and maybe we can cover that. So leave it in the comments below this video, and we will talk to y'all later. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.